Chapter 273. How long had the spirit energy on the Guiyao planet been agitated? Donghuang was not too sure about this. The only thing he was clear about was that this situation on the Guiyao planet must have existed longer than the history of the Alliance hunt. If the agitation of the spirit energy on the Guiyao planet, as well as the disappearance of the life essence of the dead beasts, has always been for the benefit of a demon, that demon has grown to where it is today. Once it appears, no one in the Honglio galaxy will be able to stop it. Donghuang was very clear about this. Even if the spirit energy on the Guiyao planet was not as abundant as the spirit energy on most of the planets in the Honglio galaxy, after thousands and tens of thousands of years of accumulation, the demon must have grown to an extremely terrifying level. At least, adepts below the separating divinity stage might not be able to control it. And in the Honglio galaxy, even the strongest of the two transcendental forces were only late divine transformation adepts. Donghuang had heard all this from his third senior sister, Mingxi. In my previous life, I did not hear third senior sister mention that there was a demon in the Honglio galaxy. I can be sure that before the Lightning Sword sect was destroyed and third senior sister left the Honglio galaxy, the demon on the Guiyao planet had not appeared yet. As he thought about this, Donghuang heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was curious as to where the demon was hiding on the Guiyao planet. Based on the current situation, even the divine transformation adepts of the various sects of the Honglio Galaxy Alliance had scouted the Guiyao planet for adepts or beasts of the primordial soul stage and above before the start of the Alliance hunt, but they had not found the demon. Obviously, the demon had hidden itself very well. With my current strength, it is not very realistic for me to find the demon during the Alliance hunt. I should focus on the Alliance hunt and get the Sky Sun fruit first. After the Alliance hunt, I will come back to see if I can find the demon. In a moment, Donghuang had made up his mind. Although Donghuang did not think that his current ability was comparable to that of the big demon, it was obvious that the big demon had not fully matured yet, because once a big demon was fully matured, it would come out into the world. If it was not killed or subdued by a strong practitioner, it would most likely cause harm. If Donghuang could find the demon before it was fully nurtured, he would not be in any danger even if Donghuang stood in front of it, unless it forcefully interrupted the nurturing process and destroyed most of its power. The breeding grounds of these great demons usually had many good things. This was also the reason why Donghuang was moved. However, Donghuang did not forget that he was currently participating in the Alliance hunt. Hence, after making his decision, he continued to roam around the Guiyao planet, killing beasts after beasts. After killing the first few mid-Dharma beasts, he did not collect their heads. After that, when he killed the mid and early Dharma beasts, he kept their heads in the other two space rings. One space ring was used to store the heads of the early Dharma beasts, while the other was used to store the heads of the late Dharma beasts. Although these two types of beasts could not be used to accumulate points even if he brought them out, he could give them to others before he left. If he could meet Mingxi and Donghuang before he left, he could even give them the heads of the mid-Dharma beasts as trophies. As for the early Dharma beasts' heads, he kept them in reserve. If he met Mingxi on the Guiyao planet, he would give them to her. Of course, he knew that Luo Qinghan would not accept them. Hence, he did not intend to reveal his true identity when he met Luo Qinghan. He could hide his identity. I never thought that Donghuang would have to worry about a woman, but that girl's temper is indeed stubborn. Whether it was Luo Qinghan's choice in the past or her ignoring him now, Donghuang remained calm. Now he was no longer as stubborn as he had been in the past. Ever since Luo Qinghan had come to look for him, he had decided to let fate take its course. Otherwise, he would have kept an eye on Luo Qinghan on this trip to the Guiyao planet. Wherever Luo Qinghan went, he would follow her, protect her, and even help her kill beasts. As for when the Tiansong sect disciple Mo Tian had asked for Luo Qinghan's hand in marriage, he had only done so to help Luo Qinghan. Some things were fine if he did not see them. Now that he had seen them, it was impossible for him to remain indifferent. Along the way, no matter what kind of beasts he encountered, they could not withstand Donghuang's attacks. An early Dharma beast was killed by him in one move. A mid-Dharma beast was killed by him in one move. A late Dharma beast was killed by him in one move. An ultimate Dharma beast was also killed by him in one move. There was no challenge. There was no pressure. The Donghuang now, with just his late Dharma stage White Tiger Dharma power, was enough to dominate the entire Guiyao planet. In the Honglio galaxy, a martial adept who could master the technique of dermic possession at the Dharma stage was already considered a rare talent and a good seedling. But the Donghuang now not only had mastered the technique of Dharma possession, but he had also mastered a more advanced technique of using Dharma power at the Dharma stage. Dharma power control. Wherever the heart was, the Dharma power would be controlled like an arm. With just a thought from him, his Dharma idol could transform into any form, let alone possess a body. Just like on this journey, with just a thought, his Dharma power could condense into a sword, which was a type of Dharma power control. His Dharma power now could not only condense into a weapon, but it could also condense into a variety of shapes and forms. In the boundless universe, in the vast and resource-rich starfields, adepts who mastered Dharma body possession at the Dharma stage could only be considered to have passable talent. Only adepts who mastered Dharma power control at the Dharma stage could be considered true geniuses. Of course, in a galaxy like the Hunglio galaxy, there had not been a single Dharma adept who had mastered Dharma power control at the Dharma stage. Along the way, Zhou Donghuang could not remember how many beasts he had killed. As long as he saw a beast, regardless of their level of training, they were all killed and beheaded by him. Some of the corpses of the beasts that contained precious materials were stored in another space ring. He planned to ask his third senior sister, He Mingxi, to help him sell them at the Lightning Sword Sex Trade Center in exchange for spirit stones when he returned. These were all things that third senior sister He Mingxi had told him to not waste the bodies of the beasts with rare materials in them. Because the bodies of the beasts took up too much space, Zhou Donghuang had to take out another space ring every once in a while to store the bodies of the beast. Luckily, he had prepared many space rings before he left this time, or else he might not have had enough. However, even so, in the end he was still too lazy to collect the bodies of ordinary beasts. In the end, he only collected the bodies of ultimate Dharma beasts that had rare materials in them. Towards the end, the space rings were not enough, so he threw away the bodies of the ordinary beasts that he had collected earlier and stored all the bodies of ultimate Dharma beasts. At this time, only 1 month had passed of the 3 months of the Alliance hunt. In this 1 month, Zhou Donghuang had met more than 10 people from the various sects of the Alliance, but most of the time only Zhou Donghuang had noticed them, and they had not noticed Zhou Donghuang. Those who had noticed Zhou Donghuang were only 2 early Dharma adepts and 1 mid-Dharma adept. When they saw Zhou Donghuang, although they could not confirm his level of training, they did not dare to provoke Zhou Donghuang because of their low level of training. On this day, Zhou Donghuang had just stepped out from a mountain range. The moment he stepped out, his divine will, which had been covering the surrounding area, detected 2 auras hidden behind a perilous peak. There were 2 people hidden there. At that moment, Zhou Donghuang stared at the Dharma power for a while. Finally, seeing that the 2 people had no intention of coming out, he prepared to turn around and leave. However, just as he was about to turn around and leave, the 2 people who had been silent finally moved. They both stepped into the air and caught up to Zhou Donghuang in the blink of an eye. One in front of the other behind him, they blocked his path. These 2 young men looked to be in their 30s. Of course, in reality they could be even older. However, they were definitely not more than 50 years old. This was because the disciples of the various sects of the Alliance who were participating in the Alliance hunt were not allowed to be older than 50 years old. In fact, this was only the requirement for ultimate Dharma disciples. For disciples whose level of training was lower than the ultimate Dharma stage, the age requirement was even stricter. Before the start of the Alliance hunt, the mid-divine transformation adepts from the 3 sects of the Alliance had entered the Guiyao planet to investigate. This time, Zhou Donghuang and a group of people who were participating in the Alliance hunt had also passed the Alliance's age test. Through the age of their bones, their ages could be confirmed. With this method, the margin of error would not exceed 3 months. You didn't come out just now because you wanted to see if I had any companions? Seeing that the 2 of them had been hiding and had come out to block him now that he was about to leave, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly as he asked calmly, "You have indeed discovered us." The young man in front of Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang. "You are right. Now, do you choose to cooperate and hand over the space ring that contains the brains of the beasts, or do you choose to wait for us to attack and torture you before handing over the space ring?" Without waiting for Zhou Donghuang to speak, the young man behind him also spoke. "Lad, both of us are ultimate Dharma adepts, so don't think that you will get lucky." Zhou Donghuang laughed. As for the young man who was blocking Zhou Donghuang's way, seeing that Zhou Donghuang was laughing, he instantly frowned. "Lad, what are you laughing at? Don't think that you can bluff your way out of this by playing dumb." As Zhou Donghuang's smile faded, he looked at the young man in front of him meaningfully and asked calmly, "The 2 of you, do you choose to hand over the space ring now, or do you choose to wait for me to attack and torture you before handing over the space ring?" A late Dharma adept who has mastered the Dharma body possession technique. Not bad. It's a pity that although I haven't mastered the Dharma body possession technique, my level of training is enough to crush you, and my overall ability is also enough to crush you. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had used his dharmic possession technique and was charging towards him, the young man with the giant hammer Dharma power laughed condescendingly. Although he had not mastered the transcendence body possession technique, his cultivation was a level higher than his opponent's. The true origin in his body was twice as dense as his opponent's, and his overall strength was far superior to his opponent's. If he were to go head-on against such an opponent, he would be able to defeat him with a single move. Whoosh! As the young man laughed condescendingly, his giant hammer Dharma power suddenly swung up and smashed down on the white tiger Dharma power. The difference in our levels of training is too great. Even if your Dharma power is more perfect than mine, it won't be of any use. Your biggest mistake was to take the initiative to attack me. You want to go head-on against me? I'll grant you your wish. Just as the young man raised his giant hammer Dharma power and was about to smash it down, thinking that victory was within his grasp, his companion felt the same way as well. However, in that split second, Zhou Donghuang, who seemed to have merged with the white tiger Dharma power, suddenly narrowed his eyes. The next moment, his divine will swept out and instantly entered the mind of the young man. In that instant, the young man's expression froze and his eyes dimmed. At the same time, the giant hammer Dharma power that had been charging forward suddenly stopped in midair and then gradually became illusory, as if it could dissipate at any time. Just as the other young man with the giant knife Dharma power saw this scene and had a look of confusion on his face, Zhou Donghuang had already controlled the white tiger Dharma power to directly destroy the giant hammer Dharma power that had become illusory. Wah! The moment the young man's dimmed eyes lit up again, he was already seriously injured. His inner yuan had backfired and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His body swayed unsteadily, and he barely managed to stabilize himself. How is this possible? The young man who had lost the ability to fight, quickly regained his senses and looked at Zhou Donghuang, who had turned around and was riding the white tiger Dharma power towards his companion. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Just now, what exactly happened? Just now, he had felt as if his mind had been struck by lightning. In an instant, his mind had gone blank, and he had fallen into a state of absent-mindedness. When he regained his senses, he realized that his Dharma power had been destroyed and he was also seriously injured. He no longer had the ability to fight. What happened? How did Huang Dong lose? As for the other young man facing the menacing Zhou Donghuang, he could only feel his scalp go numb. Although he could not understand what had happened just now, it was precisely because of this that he felt that the young man in white before him was extremely strange. Otherwise, how could Huang Dong, whose ability was comparable to his own, be so easily injured by him? Be careful. I have to be careful. Facing the menacing Zhou Donghuang, the other young man kept telling himself to be careful. He controlled the giant knife Dharma power and swung it at the white tiger Dharma power, which seemed to be one with Zhou Donghuang. However, at this moment, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed again. In the next moment, the young man also fell into a state of absent-mindedness. Then, the giant knife Dharma power became illusory, as if it could dissipate at any moment. Bang! The white tiger Dharma power struck out with its claws. Although the giant knife Dharma power was 30 feet tall, it seemed strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It was instantly destroyed, and the young man followed in the footsteps of his companion. When the young man regained his senses, he also realized that he was seriously injured. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Hand over your space rings and I'll spare your lives. After Zhou Donghuang had retracted the white tiger Dharma power, he stood in the air, his eyes indifferent and his tone calm. At this moment, the two young men who were still looking at each other in shock and disbelief, both came to their senses and stared at Zhou Donghuang as if they had seen a ghost. Who are you? What kind of technique was that? Although the young man in white before them was a late Dharma adept, the two of them did not dare to underestimate him anymore. In fact, they were even afraid of him from the bottom of their hearts. What a joke. The two of them were ultimate Dharma adepts, but they had not even had the chance to attack before they were defeated and seriously injured by him. If not for the fact that he had shown them mercy, they would have died long ago. You should understand, if I kill you I can still get your space rings. Zhou Donghuang did not respond to the two of them. His indifferent tone became colder at this moment. If not for the fact that the two of them had not intended to kill him from the start, they would have died just now. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the two of them changed their expressions at the same time, and they both smiled bitterly as they took out another space ring from the one on their finger. They then removed the ownership of this space ring and handed it over to Zhou Donghuang. Good interspatial rings were all set up with a drip of blood to recognize the owner. After the blood binding, even if the space ring was lost, as long as the owner of the space ring was still alive, no one could open the space ring and take anything from it. Of course, if the owner of the space ring died, the space ring would become ownerless, and whoever dripped their blood on it would own it. Drip, drip. After the ownership of the two space rings had been verified, Zhou Donghuang once again looked at the two young men who seemed to want to say something, and his eyes flashed once again. In the next moment, his divine will once again entered the minds of the two of them. This time, the two of them were dazed for a long time before their eyes lit up again. When their eyes lit up again and they came back to their senses, they looked at each other in shock. Weren't we hiding behind? Why are we here? I don't know, when did we get here? Now, the two of them seemed to have lost a period of memory. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang was already extremely far away from the two of them. Just now, he had used his divine will and used a secret divine will technique that he had obtained from an ancient relic in his previous life. It could wipe out a person's memory for about a quarter of an hour. Of course, there were many limitations. His divine will had to be one level higher than the opponent's level of practice in order to use this secret technique on the opponent. For example, only divine transformation adepts could use this secret technique to wipe out a primordial soul adept's memory for a quarter of an hour. Of course now, although Zhou Donghuang's level of practice was lower than the two of them, because the two of them had not condensed their divine will, his current divine will was enough to use this secret technique to wipe out their memory. The reason why he wanted to wipe their memory was because Zhou Donghuang did not want others to know that he had condensed his divine will when he was only at the Dharma stage. If this matter were to spread, it would not be a good thing for him. Today the two of them might not know that he had used his divine will because they had no concept of it, but once the two of them got out and told their elders would definitely be able to confirm that they had been affected by his divine will. You did not intend to kill me and only intended to steal my things. I will spare your lives. And this was also the reason why Zhou Donghuang did not choose to kill them and steal their things. Instead, he chose to wipe out the memories of the two of them for the most recent quarter of an hour. This was because the two of them, who had lost their memories for a quarter of an hour, were still in a daze. Even in their dreams they would not have known. They had just brushed shoulders with the god of death. If they had wanted to kill Zhou Donghuang, they would have died without a doubt. Chapter 275. After the start of the Alliance hunt, the disciples of the various sects entered the Guiyao planet. Most of them hunted beasts and collected their heads. There were also some disciples who robbed others of their spoils. The lucky ones only had their things stolen, while the unlucky ones were directly killed. Because of this, on the Guiyao planet, the disciples of the various sects not only had to face the various beasts, but they also had to face the threat of other disciples. The ranking of the Alliance hunt was based on points. However, although there were robberies, they were mostly done by people of the same level of training. This was because only by robbing people of the same level of training could one obtain useful spoils. For example, when Ultimate Dharma disciples robbed Late Dharma disciples, it was useless even if they obtained the heads of Late Dharma beasts, unless the other party had the heads of Ultimate Dharma beasts. Normally, when an Ultimate Dharma disciple was robbed by an Ultimate Dharma disciple, they would cooperate and give away the heads of Ultimate Dharma beasts that they might have. This way they could still keep the heads of the Late Dharma beasts and accumulate points. Of course, there were also some Ultimate Dharma Realm Alliance disciples who snatched away the heads of the Alliance disciples with lower levels of training. They kept the heads of the beasts that they had no use for themselves, hoping that they could give them to other disciples they were on good terms with. However, the higher level Alliance disciples rarely killed the lower level Alliance disciples. This was because if they were discovered, they would be sentenced to death. Alliance disciples of the same level of training were allowed to kill each other. This was a tacit agreement of the Alliance hunt. In the boundless universe, cultivating the martial Tao was a path that defied the heavens. Fighting with others, fighting against the heavens. The various sects of the Alliance all hoped that their disciples would be able to sense the dangers and struggles of the human heart. The rewards of the Alliance hunt were secondary. The most important thing was to gain experience. How boring. While other Alliance disciples risked their lives to kill beasts and were often injured, even when Zhou Donghuang encountered Ultimate Dharma beasts, he could easily finish them off with a single slash. He used the Divine Soul Shaper to form his divine will at the Dharma stage. Once his divine will was released, Any living being below the primordial soul stage that did not have divine will would be disrupted and even be momentarily dazed. And that short moment of daze was enough for Zhou Donghuang to kill them. If not for the Sky Sun fruit, I would not have participated in the alliance hunt. Zhou Donghuang still remembered his motive for participating in the alliance hunt. Of course, he still had another thought. That was, before the end of this alliance hunt, they would discover the breeding ground of the demon that had caused the spirit energy on the Guiyao planet to become restless and had even devoured the life essence of dead beasts. There must be a lot of good stuff in that place. However, he also knew that with his pitifully weak spiritual force, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to find it. One had to know that even in the past alliance hunts, there had been mid-divine transformation adepts who had entered the Guiyao planet to investigate if there were any existences above the primordial soul stage, but none of them had discovered the location of the demon breeding grounds. Of course, if Zhou Donghuang had the divine sense of the divine transformation stage, he was confident that he could find the location of the demon breeding ground within a few days. The breeding grounds of such demons would usually have a concealment formation. Ordinary people would find it difficult to see through the concealment formation, but for Zhou Donghuang, as long as he could find the concealment formation, he would be able to see through it. Even now, he was only a Dharma adept. As long as the formation was right in front of him, he would be able to see through it. Let's continue. Although he felt bored, Zhou Donghuang still worked hard to find ultimate Dharma beasts one after another in order to obtain the Sky Sun fruit, as the reward for the first-place winner of the alliance hunt. He killed them and collected their heads. He could not be bothered to hunt down beasts of other levels of training that he did not want to kill. Those that he did not want to were all killed by him. Just like now. In the distance, a flying beast of the late Dharma stage flew past. It was very far away from Zhou Donghuang, and it did not even notice Zhou Donghuang. However, Zhou Donghuang had noticed it. However, Zhou Donghuang could not be bothered to attack it. To Zhou Donghuang, as a disciple of the late Dharma alliance, killing a beast of the late Dharma stage in the alliance hunt would only earn him 10 points. However, killing an ultimate Dharma beast would earn him 100 points. The points from killing 10 late Dharma beasts would only be equivalent to the points from killing an ultimate Dharma beast. He did not intend to waste time chasing down beasts of the late Dharma stage. If he had the time, he might as well look for ultimate Dharma beasts that might be nearby. Suddenly, as if sensing something, Zhou Donghuang's ears twitched as he hovered in the air above a dense forest. Boom. Kaboom. With his amazing hearing, he could vaguely hear a series of muffled sounds coming from up ahead. Are beasts fighting, or are the disciples of the alliance fighting against beasts? Zhou Donghuang could tell that these were the sounds of two forces clashing. Something's not right. As he flew closer, Zhou Donghuang could clearly hear the sounds coming from up ahead. It's three forces clashing. More accurately, it's 2 against 1. Zhou Donghuang's body flickered as he hurried forward. Very quickly he arrived at the source of the sounds. In front of a waterfall in the depths of the forest, an area where no other beasts could be seen. Along the way, Zhou Donghuang had come across many such places, and they were all territories of ultimate Dharma beasts. Usually, when ultimate Dharma beasts were not out hunting, they would rest in their own territories. Boom. A loud sound rang out. It was a young man who had manifested a 20-foot-tall Dharma power on his body. He was sent flying by a 30-foot-tall Dharma power charging at him, and he crashed heavily into the waterfall. The young man was skinny and his face was handsome. His eyes shone with a sharp light. At this moment, his embroidered robes had become tattered, and the cause of all this was the two beasts that were still approaching him. They looked exactly the same, and each had a 30-foot-tall Dharma power on their bodies. Looking at the Dharma power of these two beasts, it was obvious that they were ultimate Dharma beasts. As for the young man, the reason why his Dharma power was 20 foot tall was because he had an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon in his hand, which could double the inner yuan of a Dharma adept. Dharma spirit weapons were mostly worn on the body to directly increase the inner yuan of a Dharma adept and manifest a stronger Dharma power. For example, this young man's Dharma spirit weapon was obviously the jade bracelet on his right wrist. He has already mastered the technique of Dharma possession. If it was just an ultimate Dharma beast, he would be able to handle it. As long as he has enough time, he would definitely be able to kill it. But these two ultimate Dharma beasts, and they are obviously twins at that, their teamwork is very strong. When they work together, their strength is not as simple as 1 plus 1. Zhou Donghuang could see that the two beasts in front of him were a pair of twin beasts. Of course they looked the same, but they might not necessarily be twin beasts. But the problem was, these two demonic beasts not only looked exactly the same at first glance, even the details of their bodies were exactly the same. Even if they were of the same species, it was impossible for two demonic beasts to look so similar. Therefore they could only be twins. Roar, roar, these two beasts were very similar to cheetahs. Their fur was covered in leopard markings, but they had long, sharp teeth in their mouths and their mountain-like bodies. It was obvious that they were not ordinary cheetahs. Their Dharma power was the same as their bodies, but it was many times larger. It was like two huge mountains standing there looking very imposing. The young man had originally thought of retreating, but suddenly from the corner of his eye, he saw Zhou Donghuang standing in the air not far away, his expression calm. Although Zhou Donghuang looked very young, his calm demeanor made it easy to guess that he was not afraid of these two beasts. At least, like him, he had the ability to escape from these two beasts. The reason why he was injured now was because he didn't believe it. He wanted to see if he could find an opportunity to defeat the two demonic beasts one by one. However, he discovered that the two demonic beasts' cooperation was almost flawless, and he didn't have the slightest chance to take advantage of them. In fact, while he was looking for an opportunity to take them down one by one, he was also injured. Taking a deep breath, the young man looked at Zhou Donghuang and shouted, "Sir, why don't we join forces and kill these two beasts? We'll split the spoils of war in half." However, Zhou Donghuang only glanced at him and did not respond. In the next moment, under the shocked gaze of the young man, Zhou Donghuang's figure flickered and he charged directly towards the two beasts. Seeing Zhou Donghuang charge forward alone, the young man could not help but smile mockingly. Courting death. In his opinion, Zhou Donghuang definitely wanted to monopolize the spoils of war, which was why he had charged forward directly instead of joining forces with him. What a greedy fellow. Because he could escape at any time, even if he was injured, the young man was confident that he could escape from under the nose of these two beasts. Therefore, when Zhou Donghuang attracted the attention of the two beasts, he did not rush to leave. Instead, he looked at Zhou Donghuang with a gloating expression, as if he could already see Zhou Donghuang's pathetic state. However, in the next moment he saw a scene that almost made his jaw drop. He saw that as the two beasts pounced towards the young man in white, their figures strangely paused midway. Then their Dharma power also became somewhat illusory and faint, as if it could dissipate at any time. Just then the young man in white's 10-meter giant tiger pounced forward, and after defeating the two beasts' Dharma power, it struck out with its claws at lightning speed, slapping the two beasts to the ground. Boom! Boom! The two beasts fell to the ground and lay on the ground, blood flowing from their mouths, their auras weak. What's going on? The scene in front of him completely stunned the young man. He had no idea what had just happened. Why did the two beasts suddenly freeze? How lucky! After a moment the young man came back to his senses. He only felt that Zhou Donghuang was just lucky, and that the two beasts' hidden ailments were acting up. When he saw that Zhou Donghuang was about to attack the two beasts, and it was obvious that he was going to take their heads, his expression changed and his whole body shot out like lightning. "Sir, everything is about first come first serve. Although you've injured them, that's because I've used up a lot of their inner yuan first. You have to give me one of these two beasts." Chapter 276. If you want a share, come and get it yourself. Zhou Donghuang casually chopped off the heads of the two beasts and kept their bodies as he glanced at the young man. Although the two beasts had exchanged blows with the young man earlier, they had not used their full strength. They had not expended much energy and were still at their peak. He had killed two demonic beasts by himself, and this person wanted a share of the spoils? How could there be such a good thing in this world? Although he only glanced at the young man, Zhou Donghuang's gaze was filled with warning. "You." In the end, the young man did not make a move because he knew that even if he did, he would not be able to defeat his opponent. His opponent was a late Dharma adept like him, and he had also mastered the Dharma body integration technique. As for him, he had only mastered the Dharma body integration technique not long before the start of the alliance hunt. Even at his peak he might not be a match for his opponent, let alone now. "Sir, I am Zhong Qingkai, the son of the deputy leader of the Yuanyin order, the son of Zhong Wuyan. I wonder how should I address you, and which sect are you from?" Taking a deep breath, the young man forced a smile as he asked, "What? Do you want to know my name and background so that you can seek revenge in the future?" Zhou Donghuang glanced at him and asked. "I have no such intentions." Zhong Qingkai tried hard to suppress his anger and grinned with some difficulty. "If it weren't for your help today, I wouldn't have survived. I just want to know the background of my benefactor." Zhou Donghuang looked at Zhong Qingkai deeply, his gaze sharp as if he could see through everything. "Whether you mean it or want revenge, I, Zhou Donghuang, will accept it. In the next 2 years I should still be in the Lightning Sword sect. If you want to seek revenge you can find me there. As soon as he finished speaking without waiting for the other party's response, Zhou Donghuang had already left in a flash, like a white meteor flashing across the sky. He's Zhou Donghuang from the Lightning Sword sect? Zhong Qingsai's eyes narrowed and he subconsciously exclaimed, he has actually entered the late Dharma stage? The genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Donghuang, was only 24 years old, but he was already a mid-Dharma adept and had mastered the Dharma body integration technique. He had easily defeated Han Yujing, the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, who was said to be 1 in 100 years on the Tailao planet. Zhong Qingkai had long heard of this news. It was just that he had never imagined that after 2 years, Zhou Donghuang had already entered the late Dharma stage. He was only 26 years old this year, right? A 26-year-old late Dharma adept? Even in the 2 transcendental forces, this is extremely rare, right? Zhong Qingkai thought. At the same time he secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Fortunately, I wasn't too forceful just now. However, I will not let this matter rest. Zhou Donghuang, you'd better not give me a chance, otherwise I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Zhong Qingsai's eyes flickered with a terrifying cold light, as if he was about to devour someone. From the moment he found out about Zhou Donghuang's identity, he knew that he could not go to the Lightning Sword sect to seek revenge. This was because even an idiot would know that the Lightning Sword sect would definitely protect Zhou Donghuang. A martial arts genius like Zhou Donghuang, even if he did not have a strong family background, would not be someone they could afford to offend in the Yuanyin sect. Even if his father was the vice-sect leader of the Yuanyin sect, he couldn't do it. At least on the surface, he and his father did not dare to act recklessly. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a full 2 months had passed since the start of the Alliance hunt. In another month's time, the disciples of the various sects on the Guiyao planet would have to leave the Guiyao planet. To some of the more powerful people, 2 months on the Guiyao planet was a very easy task. For the ultimate Dharma adepts of the various sects of the Alliance, it was like a vacation for them. Even if they had not mastered the Dharma body integration technique with their spirit weapons, they could easily kill a group of ultimate Dharma beasts on the Guiyao planet. And because it was very difficult for them to accumulate points, it was almost impossible for them to obtain a high ranking on the leaderboard. Therefore, their mission in the Alliance hunt was to help the weaker members of their sects accumulate points. Now, the ultimate Dharma adepts of the various sects were all following one of their early Dharma adepts or mid-Dharma adepts in their sects, or even multiple people at the same time. Some of the late Dharma adepts also had friends of ultimate Dharma adepts who wanted to help them, and this kind of help was almost one-on-one. In short, in the Alliance hunt, besides the importance of individual ability, it also depended on whether there was someone willing to help for free. Of course, even if there was someone willing to help, the beasts that the other party helped to kill had to be ones that they could single-handedly kill. Otherwise, not only would it not be counted in their points, but they would also be punished by having their points revoked. Therefore, even if an ultimate Dharma adept helped an early Dharma adept, the most they could do was to help him kill a mid-Dharma beast. Luo Qinghan, you and I are really fated. Yuan Zheng would never have dreamed that he would be able to meet Luo Qinghan on the Guiyao planet, given how big it was. Instantly, his eyes almost turned green. And seeing Yuan Zheng, Luo Qinghan's expression could not help but change slightly, but she quickly composed herself. Even though Yuan Zheng had also entered the Dharma stage and had obtained a spot for the Tiansong sect to participate in the Alliance hunt, his ability might not be stronger than hers. After composing herself, Luo Qinghan glanced coldly at Yuan Zheng, then ignored him and continued walking on her own path. Luo Qinghan, along the way, I heard from some of the Jihan sect disciples that there were ultimate Dharma adepts who wanted to help you accumulate points, but you rejected them? Yuan Zheng caught up with Luo Qinghan and asked with a smile. However, Luo Qinghan still ignored him. Indeed. Just as they were preparing to enter the Guiyao planet to participate in the Alliance hunt, a few ultimate Dharma adepts of the Jihan sect had expressed to Luo Qinghan that as long as she was willing, they could help her kill beasts for free and accumulate points. However, Luo Qinghan had rejected them. She knew very well that the ultimate Dharma adepts of the Jihan sect had said was just a joke. They had helped her because they wanted to get to know Zhou Donghuang through her, and perhaps even curry favor with him. Based on Zhou Donghuang's current achievements, as long as he did not die prematurely in the future, he would definitely become a big shot in the Hengliu galaxy. Such an existence, as long as he did not die prematurely, was destined to rise. To be able to interact with him before he rose to power was a dream come true for everyone. I can't owe him any more. This was the only thought in Luo Qinghan's mind when she rejected the ultimate Dharma adepts of the Jihan sect. Seeing that Luo Qinghan was still ignoring him, the smile on Yuan Zheng's face gradually disappeared. Looking at Luo Qinghan's back, he said sarcastically, Luo Qinghan, at a time like this, why are you still acting all high and mighty? Back when we were on the Tianshan planet, you behaved like a saintess, with no desires and even disdain for me. But now you've hooked up with Zhou Donghuang of the Lightning Sword sect. You've only been in the Jihan sect for a few years. Even if you know him, how long can you know him? How long can you know me? Do you dare to say that you're not friends with him because you like his martial arts talent and future achievements? Luo Qinghan's back was facing Yuan Zheng. Hearing him say this, her face instantly darkened and she froze in place. Yuan Zheng, if you dare to spout nonsense again, don't blame me for attacking you. Luo Qinghan's eyes flashed with anger, and she clenched her fists tightly as she spoke in a low voice. All right, hearing Luo Qinghan's words, Yuan Zheng laughed. Just as well, I also want to see how strong you are now, Luo Qinghan. To be honest, I was quite surprised to see that you were able to participate in the alliance hunt. Almost at the same instant that Luo Qinghan turned around, a black pearl appeared in Yuan Zheng's hand without anyone noticing. He then flicked his finger and shot it into the sky, causing a brilliant firework to bloom in the sky. As she turned around, Luo Qinghan also noticed the firework blooming above her head, and her expression changed slightly. Are you summoning the Tiansong sect disciples over? Without any hesitation, Luo Qinghan's figure moved, intending to leave. She was not completely confident that she could defeat Yuan Zheng alone. If there was another Tiansong sect disciple, he would definitely not be a match for them. Luo Qinghan, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Yuan Zheng laughed calmly as his figure flashed, blocking Luo Qinghan's path. Seeing this, Luo Qinghan could only take out a similar black pearl from her space ring, intending to shoot it into the sky. Since Yuan Zheng wanted to summon the nearby Tiansong sect disciples, she could only summon the other Jihan sect disciples. The disciples of the various sects in the alliance all had their own specific firework signal. However, Yuan Zheng was one step ahead of her, preventing her from having her way. Luo Qinghan, don't even think of summoning anyone over in front of me. Luo Qinghan's expression changed once again, and she could only take out her spirit weapon and fight with Yuan Zheng. Once she repelled Yuan Zheng, she would have the opportunity to send the firework signal. However, Yuan Zheng's ability was not inferior to hers. The two of them were evenly matched and she had no chance to send the firework signal. Once she was distracted, with Yuan Zheng's ability, he would be able to silently defeat and injure her. Once she was injured, she would become a fish on Yuan Zheng's chopping board. That was something she did not want to see no matter what. Therefore, she could only force herself to hold on. Luo Qinghan, I'm not sending the firework signal to find someone to help me deal with you. I'm still capable of dealing with you. Yuan Zheng chuckled. I'm sending the firework signal to summon Senior Brother Mo over. Senior Brother Mo is nearby. Tisk TSK? I'm really looking forward to sending you into Senior Brother Mo's arms so that he can have you and take revenge for the humiliation he received from your man. I wonder how grateful he will be to me. With him as my backing, my path in the Tiansong sect will become smoother and smoother. Yuan Zheng felt that this was a blessing from the heavens, allowing him to meet Luo Qinghan and atone for his sins. One had to know that he had indirectly caused trouble for Mo Tian, the top disciple of the younger generation in the Tiansong sect, and Mo Tian bore a grudge against him. 2 days ago, when Mo Tian had met him, he had looked at him with a cold gaze. One could imagine that if not for the fact that they were from the same sect, Mo Tian would probably have killed him. Chapter 277. Signal Flare. The signal flare that rose into the sky not far away caused Zhou Donghuang, who was traversing through the forest, to pause in his tracks. However, it's not the Lightning Sword sect's signal flare. It should be from another sect. No matter which sect's signal flare appears, it will definitely attract people from that sect who are nearby. Among them, there might even be ultimate Dharma adepts. Killing beasts, even if they are ultimate Dharma beasts, will only result in one head at a time. But if we rob ultimate Dharma Alliance disciples, we can obtain multiple ultimate Dharma beasts' heads. Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes lit up, and he immediately flew towards the place where the signal flare had risen. The Alliance hunt allowed Alliance disciples to rob each other of their spoils of war. The Alliance hunt was meant to train the disciples of the various sections. Naturally, it was a cruel world where the strong preyed on the weak. This was because once the disciples of the various sects left their sects, they would lose the protection of their sections. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, many Alliance disciples had disappeared without a trace after leaving their sections. The vast universe and boundless starry sky were filled with too many uncertainties. Sometimes, even if you died, others would not know how you died. Even if they wanted to avenge you, they would not know where to start. When he reached his destination and hid behind a huge pine tree, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed into slits when he saw the person in front of him. A cold light flashed through his eyes. You guys can disperse. Junior brother Yuan Zheng and I will be fine here. Before the alliance hunt had begun, Zhou Donghuang had defeated the first person of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect. He was now dispersing wave after wave of Tiansong sect disciples approaching. Of course, there were not many Tiansong sect disciples in each wave. They were either one person or two at most. Yes, senior brother Mo, the Tiansong sect disciples were very obedient towards Mo Etienne's words, and they left one by one. Junior sister Luo, that man of yours, Zhou Donghuang, is really amazing. Mo Etienne slowly approached Luo Qinghan with Yuan Zheng's escort, and a bright smile appeared on his face. He actually defeated me in front of so many people and made me lose face. Say, if I were to take you today, what kind of expression do you think he would have when he finds out? Mo Etienne's smile became even brighter. I would rather die than let you have your way. Luo Qinghan's eyes turned cold. She was ready to die, and she had already decided to burn her Dharma power to destroy herself. Dharma adepts could self-destruct by burning their Dharma power. Of course, this was different from the self-destruction of the primordial soul of adepts above the primordial soul stage. The burning of one's Dharma power could only destroy oneself and not others. In fact, it could not even hurt others. When a primordial spirit self-detonated, everyone nearby would be affected. If they got too close, even if they were at the same cultivation level, they would definitely die. Junior sister Luo, you want to burn your Dharma power in front of me? Seeing that Luo Qinghan's Dharma power had manifested and that her aura had become agitated, Mo Etienne smiled condescendingly. Then the sword god Dharma power appeared on his body. With a point of his sword, threads of sword chi shot out and wrapped around the Dharma power that Luo Qinghan had just manifested, binding and suppressing it. In the blink of an eye, Luo Qinghan's Dharma power was forcefully suppressed. Her Dharma power was forcefully suppressed, and Luo Qinghan's pretty face instantly turned pale. Her cherry-like mouth opened and a mouthful of extravasated blood spurted out. It was like a red rose blooming in the air, extremely alluring. Senior brother Mo? At this moment, two more figures appeared. They were the other two Tiansong sect disciples. When they saw the scene in front of them, they were a little stunned. They naturally recognized Luo Qinghan. She was the female disciple of the Jihan sect whom their senior brother Mo had proposed to the Jihan sect but to no avail. At the same time, she was also the fiancée of the Lightning Sword sect's genius disciple, Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, a chill ran down their spines. Based on the current situation, their senior brother Mo now wanted to attack Luo Qinghan and take revenge for the humiliation he had suffered from Luo Qinghan and Zhou Donghuang. When we get out of here, what to say, you should know, right? Mo Etienne asked as he looked deeply at the two Tiansong sect disciples who had just appeared. We know, we know. The two of them nodded like chicks pecking at rice. This senior brother Mo was not only the number one person among the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, but he was also the direct disciple of the Tiansong sect leader. As disciples of the Tiansong sect, how could they dare to provoke him? Just as the two Tiansong sect disciples were about to turn and leave, tisk, accompanied by a series of tisk sounds, a white figure appeared in the air from afar. It was a tall young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow and wearing a devil mask on his face. Seeing this somewhat familiar figure, Mo Etienne's eyes narrowed and he asked subconsciously, You are Zhou Donghuang? At this moment, Luo Qinghan, who had just been about to take out a sharp weapon from her space ring to commit suicide, also stopped what she was doing and stared blankly at the white figure who had suddenly appeared. Although the white robe on the person who had come was different from the one that Zhou Donghuang had worn in the past. However, this person's build and the ethereal aura that he exuded were no different from Zhou Donghuang's. Not only did Mo Etienne think that this person was Zhou Donghuang, but Luo Qinghan also thought that this person was Zhou Donghuang. It's him? Zhou Donghuang. Yuan Zheng stood behind Mo Etienne. When he saw this young man in white with a devil mask suddenly appear, his expression changed drastically. If this was really Zhou Donghuang, not only would Mo Etienne be finished but he would also be finished. What should we do? What should we do? Escape. With a thought, Yuan Zheng's figure flashed and he dashed into the distance without any hesitation, trying to escape. As this slightly low and hoarse snort sounded, in the next moment Luo Qinghan and Mo Yitian, and the other two Tiansong sect disciples saw the robe on the young man in white with the devil mask flutter, and a Dharma power appeared. This was a flying beast Dharma power, and its entire body seemed to be burning with flames. Once it appeared, it chased after Yuan Zheng, who had just escaped not far away. Its wings were as sharp as knives, and it directly cut off Yuan Zheng's head and sent it flying. This scene happened so quickly that Luo Qinghan and the other two Tiansong sect disciples could not recover from their shock. Mo Yitian, on the other hand, regained his senses. However, he was unable to save Yuan Zheng in time because of another matter. So you're not Zhou Donghuang. Seeing the other party's flying beast Dharma power, Mo Yitian heaved a sigh of relief. His gaze on the other party also became somewhat cold. Were you really? Why are you hiding your head and showing your tail? I'm a man who upholds justice on behalf of the heavens. The newcomer clearly had no intention of talking nonsense with Mo Yitian. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flashed and he flew towards Mo Yitian. Seeing the other party fly towards him, Mo Yitian snorted coldly. If you were Zhou Donghuang, I would definitely die here today. If you weren't Zhou Donghuang, do you think I would be afraid of you since we're both late Dharma adepts? As soon as he finished speaking, the sword god Dharma power on Mo Yitian's body suddenly expanded until it reached a height of 200 feet before it stopped growing. It was obvious that he had used an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. However, at the same time, the flying beast Dharma power that returned to the body of the young man in white with the devil mask also exploded to a height of 200 feet. In terms of size, it was comparable to Mo Yitian's sword god Dharma power. Obviously, he had also used an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. If you hadn't mastered the technique of dharmic possession, you would definitely die today. Mo Yitian roared. In the next moment, his entire body seemed to have completely merged with the sword god Dharma power. The sword god Dharma power was under his control, and with a horizontal slash, it swept towards the young man in white. Dharmic possession? The young man in white's slightly hoarse and low voice rang out. There was a hint of disdain in his tone. You've only mastered dharmic possession at the late Dharma stage, and you still have the nerve to be so arrogant? I'll let you see what Dharma power control is. As soon as the young man in white finished speaking, the flying beast Dharma power that had appeared on his body instantly changed and turned into a Dharma power that was exactly the same as Mo Yitian's sword god Dharma power. Then it charged towards Mo Yitian. This scene caused Luo Qinghan's pretty face to be filled with shock. As for the two Tiansong sect disciples, they looked at the scene in front of them as if they had seen a ghost. My God, it's Dharma power control. The legendary Dharma power control. Dharma power control was a heaven-defying technique that could only be mastered by Dharma adepts who had trained their Dharma power to the extreme. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, there had never been such a person. No. A scream filled with unwillingness shocked Luo Qinghan and the other two Tiansong sect disciples. When they subconsciously shifted their gazes, they just happened to see the sword god Dharma power that the young man in white was controlling suddenly turn into a giant sword the moment it got close to Mo Yitian's real sword god Dharma power. It swung through the air and not only destroyed the opponent's sword god Dharma power, but it also cut him in half. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. After the giant sword had cut Mo Yitian in half, it even blossomed like fireworks and turned into a sky full of sword rain. It enveloped Mo Yitian's broken body and turned it into a pool of blood in the blink of an eye. The number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect had died. Hiss! The two Tiansong sect disciples gasped in unison. Their scalps went numb as they looked at the young man in white standing in the air above the place where Mo Yitian had died. Their faces were pale. They knew that if the other party wanted to kill them, they would definitely die. What are you waiting for? When the young man in white with the devil mask looked at the two Tiansong sect disciples and said these words, the two of them ran away as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. As they ran, they were glad that they had escaped with their lives. Who on earth is that person? He has actually mastered the ultimate technique of Dharma adepts, Dharma power control, at the late Dharma stage. He can't be a disciple of the Alliance. He can't even be from the Honglio galaxy. In the Honglio galaxy, even the two transcendental forces, it is impossible for a Dharma adept to master Dharma power control. I think so too. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, there has never been such a legendary Dharma adept. Chapter 278. Thank you, young master, for saving my life. Luo Qinghan thanked him gratefully. She had thought that she would definitely die, but she did not expect that in her most desperate moment, the young man in white before her would appear like a savior and save her. Of course, at this moment, deep in her heart, she was still a little disappointed. At first, when she saw the familiar figure, she had thought that it was Zhou Donghuang. It was only when the other party revealed his Dharma power that she confirmed that although the other party's figure was the same as Zhou Donghuang's, and he was also dressed in the same white robes as Zhou Donghuang, it was not Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was a giant tiger. But the Dharma power of the young man in white before her was a bird that seemed to be burning with flames. Their Dharma idols were completely different from each other. Although the Dharma power of the young man in white before her had been trained to the extreme, and he could use the legendary Dharma power control technique to change as he pleased. But when the Dharma power first appeared, it was definitely a real Dharma power. It was impossible for it to be an illusory Dharma power the moment it appeared. Therefore, the possibility that Zhou Donghuang had changed his Dharma power into a bird Dharma power could be completely ruled out. Unless Zhou Donghuang had formed two Dharma powers in his body, but was that possible? Every Dharma power was born from the foundation of a golden essence. If someone had two Dharma powers, it meant that he had once formed two golden essences. A primal core adept with two primal essences? Was there such a person in this world? If the person who saved me today was him, I would probably be very touched and even disregard everything else and be willing to try dating him. Luo Qinghan sighed in her heart. It was a pity that it was not him. In that moment of life and death, when she had first seen the person who had appeared and thought that it was Zhou Donghuang, she had even felt that her past persistence was so laughable. Of course, it was only for a moment. After confirming that the person was not Zhou Donghuang, Luo Qinghan's heart, which had just melted a little, froze again. The young man in white, wearing the devil mask, nodded at Luo Qinghan. You are also a disciple of the Alliance of the Hungliu Galaxy? Participating in this alliance hunt? Yes. Luo Qinghan nodded in response. At the same time she thought to herself, as expected. This young man in white, who had mastered the legendary technique of Dharma power control, was indeed not from the Hungliu Galaxy. It was highly likely that he had come from a larger, more prosperous galaxy and had mistakenly entered the Guiyao planet. In the entire Hungliu Galaxy, there had never been a Dharma adept who had mastered Dharma power control. Since I've saved you today, it can be considered that we are fated. Next I'll help you. The white-clothed youth's voice was still deep and hoarse. I am already unable to repay young master's life-saving grace. How could I dare to trouble young master again? Luo Qinghan declined. Our meeting can be considered a kind of fate. Based on this fate, I intend to finish what I started and help you to the end. The white-robed youth insisted. Thank you, young master. Sensing the other party's determination, Luo Qinghan also realized that there was no point in refusing him. As she thanked him profusely, she asked, My name is Luo Qinghan. How should I address you, young master? Zhuge Haotian. The white-robed youth said. So it's young master Zhuge. Luo Qinghan bowed slightly in greeting. The white-robed youth who called himself Zhuge Haotian was naturally Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang had arrived a long time ago. He hid in the shadows and watched the situation unfold. It was only when he saw Mo Etienne attack Luo Qinghan and the two Tiansong sect disciples arrive that he showed himself. Of course, when he showed himself, he specially wore a devil mask. As for the robe that he was wearing, he did not deliberately change it. This was because he would change into a white robe every few days. In his space ring, there were no less than 1,000 white robes of different styles. These were all prepared for him by his mother, Lin Lan, before he left the Ziyun planet. On this trip to the Guiyao planet, he had already changed into no less than 10 sets of white robes. As for the reason for wearing the devil mask, there were two. One of the reasons was to not implicate Luo Qinghan. Once he showed himself and killed Mo Etienne and the rest of the Tiansong sect. Even if no one knew that he had killed Mo Etienne and the rest, the Tiansong sect disciples who had left earlier would know that Mo Etienne had encountered Luo Qinghan and wanted to deal with her. It would be very difficult for him to kill all of those Tiansong sect disciples. And once there were any who escaped, they would definitely inform the Tiansong sect leader about Mo Etienne's encounter with Luo Qinghan. Moreover, Luo Qinghan was unharmed, and this would definitely cause trouble for Luo Qinghan. Therefore he chose to show himself as a stranger and purposely let the two Tiansong sect disciples go so that they could leak the news after the alliance hunt ended. As for now, even if the two of them wanted to leak the news, there was nothing they could do. This was because before the Alliance hunt ended, the formation that enveloped the Guiyao planet would restrict the Alliance disciples from leaving. This was to prevent the Alliance disciples from giving up halfway, and at the same time, to prevent the Alliance disciples from making any noise. Since they were going to train the Alliance disciples, they naturally had to simulate an absolutely dangerous situation. As for the other reason why Zhou Donghuang wore the devil mask, it was to help Luo Qinghan and even teach her high-level techniques. With Luo Qinghan's temper, he really did not know how to persuade her, so he could only resort to this. She was unwilling to accept the techniques that Zhou Donghuang had given her, but that did not mean that she would be unwilling to accept the techniques that Zhuge Haoyin had given her. As for the name Zhuge Haoyin, it was the name that Zhou Donghuang had taken from his biological parents. His biological father's name was Zhou Haoyin, and his biological mother's name was Zhuge Jing. With Zhou Donghuang's pseudonym Zhuge Haoyin by her side to help, the rest of Luo Qinghan's journey became much easier. All the beasts that they met along the way were easily killed. Sir Zhuge, I only want the heads of early and mid-Dharma beasts. You can keep the bodies of the other beasts for yourself. Luo Qinghan said. However, Zhou Donghuang only took the bodies of ultimate Dharma beasts. He could not be bothered to take the bodies of the other beasts. Under such circumstances, Luo Qinghan had no choice but to take them. Of course, she knew that even if she took the bodies of late Dharma beasts, she would not be able to accumulate points. This was because she did not have the ability to defeat late Dharma beasts. Mid-Dharma beasts, on the other hand, could be defeated or even killed. Too similar. Along the way, Luo Qinghan realized that the figure of the young man in white in front of her was too similar to that man. It even gave her the illusion that he was that man. However, every time she saw his flying beast Dharma power, she felt as if she had woken up from a dream. He was not that man. His name was Zhuge Haoyin, not Zhou Donghuang. For an entire month, without knowing Zhou Donghuang's true identity, Luo Qinghan spent all her time with Zhou Donghuang. Even though she tried to control herself, faced with such an outstanding young talent who cared for her so much, she could not help but feel a little moved. Of course, this trace of affection was buried in the depths of her heart. She always remembered that in this lifetime, even if she wanted to find a man, it could only be that man. She could not be close to any other man. Even if he was more outstanding than that man, it would still be the same. We will be parting tomorrow. Zhou Donghuang looked at Luo Qinghan and sighed. His voice was still low and hoarse. And I plan to leave the Guiyao planet and even the Hongliu galaxy after you all leave. Although she was already mentally prepared, upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Luo Qinghan's heart could not help but tremble slightly. A trace of guilt flashed across her eyes. Will we meet again? Luo Qinghan also sighed softly. Perhaps. Zhou Donghuang smiled, and with a flick of his finger, a space ring appeared. Before we part, let me give you a gift. I only have one request. After we part, you can use your blood to bind this space ring to its owner and see what's inside. Sir Zhuge, you have helped me too much. I cannot accept this gift no matter what. Luo Qinghan shook her head resolutely. Over the past month, the more she interacted with him, the more she realized how terrifying the young man before her was. The time that the young man before her had given her guidance was not even 1/100th of the time that her grandmother had given her, but the help he had given her was even greater than the guidance her grandmother had given her. It had a profound impact, and she felt as if she had been enlightened. She had already guessed that this Sir Zhuge in front of her must have a very terrifying background, perhaps even standing at the peak of the boundless universe. This gift may be an opportunity for us to meet again in the future. Are you sure you won't accept it? Zhou Donghuang looked at Luo Qinghan deeply, and his deep gaze caused Luo Qinghan's heart to tremble. She hesitated for a moment, to accept it or not. If she did not accept it, she might not be able to see this person again. If she accepted it, there was hope that they would meet again. In the end, another white figure flashed across Luo Qinghan's mind. His handsome face flashed across her mind, and her gaze became extremely determined. Sir Zhuge, I still can't accept you. At this moment, Luo Qinghan did not realize that the white-robed young man before her, who called himself Zhuge Haoyin, had a look of relief in his eyes the moment she firmly rejected him. If you don't accept it, then let it fall to this land and wait for the fated one. Zhou Donghuang flicked his finger, and the space ring floated in front of Luo Qinghan. Then, with a shake of his body, the flying beast Dharma power appeared again, and his entire person seemed to have transformed into a bird. He flapped his wings and left at lightning speed, disappearing before Luo Qinghan's eyes in the blink of an eye. Seeing the space ring in front of her lose the support of her inner yuan and slowly fall to the ground, Luo Qinghan was in a daze. She let out a long sigh and finally, with a helpless expression, she reached out and took the space ring. How am I supposed to repay this kindness? I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. In the future, even if I see you, I'll keep my distance. In this lifetime, I've already been marked by someone else. Either I get along with him or I die alone. Chapter 279. What a stubborn girl. But with my plan, even if she doesn't want to accept it, she will have no choice but to accept it. After parting ways with Luo Qinghan, the young man in white took off his mask, revealing a handsome and charismatic face. It was Zhou Donghuang. Tomorrow was the day when the array above the Guiyao planet would open, and the disciples of the various sects who participated in the alliance hunt would leave the Guiyao planet. They would hand in the heads of the beasts they had hunted, and the results would be tallied. In order to avoid exposing his identity, he naturally had to separate from Luo Qinghan a day earlier. Although she would accept the space ring that I gave her in the end with her personality, I don't think she would touch the things inside. Fortunately, I had already guessed this and left a message inside so that she would have no choice but to accept what I gave her. As he muttered to himself, Zhou Donghuang's face was full of confidence. He then found a secluded place and changed out of the white clothes that he had worn for a month. In the past month, he had not changed out of his clothes precisely to avoid exposing his identity in front of Luo Qinghan. Otherwise, he would have changed out of his clothes many times. As a martial adept, he was impervious to heat and cold, and his robes would not be stained with sweat or dirty. Many martial adepts did not even change their robes for many years. However, he had stayed on Earth for a period of time. When he was on Earth, he bathed and changed his clothes every day. Because of this, he had to change his clothes every few days after he left Earth in his previous life. His mother, Lin Lan, had noticed this, so she had prepared a large batch of clothes for him before he left the Ziyun planet. Not long after Zhou Donghuang left, Luo Qinghan found a secluded place to claim the space ring that Zhou Donghuang had given her. Of course, in her eyes, this space ring had been given to her by the masked Zhuge Haotian, whom she had just met a month ago. Now that she had claimed ownership of the space ring, she was worried that she would lose it in the future. She had already decided that no matter what Zhuge Haotian had left for her, she would not touch it. If there was a chance in the future, she would return it to him and then leave. She would not be entangled with him and she would not give him any hope. The two of them could not have a relationship. In the past month, it was not difficult for her to realize that Zhou Donghuang's concern for her had completely exceeded that of a new acquaintance. If he had known her in the past, it would have been fine, but the problem was that the two of them did not know each other in the past. Therefore, even if she was not narcissistic, she could not help but guess that the other party had most likely developed feelings for her. She was indebted to the other party, so she didn't want him to get involved. Although Luo Qinghan could sense that the things that Zhou Donghuang had left behind for her were not simple, she was still shocked when she inadvertently took a look inside the space ring. A large number of superior-grade spirit stones were piled up like a small hill. Other than that, there were also pill bottles arranged neatly. She didn't even need to open the pill bottles to guess that the pills inside were extraordinary. In addition, there was a stack of papers and a separate piece of paper on one side. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan took out a piece of paper that had been placed aside. She realized that it was a letter that the other party had left for her at some point in time. I, Zhuge Haotian, have appeared on the Guiyao planet of the Honglio galaxy because an elder in my clan who is able to see through the secrets of heaven helped me pry into the secrets of heaven. He said that he found out that I will face a great tribulation of life and death in the future, and I need someone to help me resolve this tribulation. As for who the person was, he only said a few words. Honglio Galaxy, Guiyao planet, a hero saving a damsel in distress. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. It was only after I suddenly saw a signal flare on this Guiyao planet that I went there out of curiosity. When I saw that you were in danger of death, I knew that you were the person that I was looking for on this trip to the Guiyao planet of the Honglio Galaxy. The medicinal pills and spirit stones in this spatial ring, as well as the cultivation technique, are all for you. Don't feel like you owe me anything because I'm giving you these things to save myself. In the future, I'll be counting on you to save my life. Apart from these words, the rest of the letter was an introduction to the pills in the various pill bottles. So that's how it is. Luo Qinghan smiled bitterly. Now she finally understood why Zhuge Haotian would care and take care of her so much. It turned out that everything was because of the words of the elder in his clan who was able to see through the secrets of heaven, and he had determined that she was the person who would help him resolve the danger of death in the future. To think that I thought that he was interested in me, but I was overthinking it. Thinking of this, Luo Qinghan could not help but feel a little awkward, and she subconsciously laughed at herself. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan picked up the stack of papers in the space ring. On them were the techniques that the elder had left for her. At first, it was fine, as she only felt that this technique was better than the one that she was currently practicing. However, as she read, she could not help but gasp. This is actually a deity-level technique? In the past, when Zhou Donghuang had gone to the Luo family to propose marriage, the deity-level technique of everlasting youth, that he had given her father as a betrothal gift had already shocked her. She had not expected that a person from a backward planet like the Ziyun planet would be able to produce a technique that was close to the top in the universe. And now, the technique in her hands was called the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, and it was a deity-level technique. As long as one's talent was not too low, and as long as one did not die prematurely, one could practice it all the way to the deity's tribulation stage. The deity's tribulation stage represented the pinnacle of martial adepts. Upon entering the deity's tribulation stage, one would face the heavenly tribulation of becoming a god. If one could pass it, one could ascend to the legendary divine realm. If one could not pass it, one would die and vanish from this world. A deity-level technique is the top technique in the universe. Usually, only those who stand at the top of the universe have such a legacy. That young man in white named Zhuge Haotian, who is he? He actually left such a technique for me so casually. Luo Qinghan had previously doubted the authenticity of Zhuge Haotian's message. But now, after confirming that the technique in her hands was called the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, was a deity-level technique, her previous doubts were completely dispelled. In a situation where he might be rejected, why would someone give her a deity-level technique in order to woo her and please her? Furthermore, this was in a situation where the other party was completely unaware of her character. One had to know that giving away this deity-level technique was like pouring water out of a basin. What was done could not be taken back. In a short month of interaction, no one dared to say that they could completely see through a person's character. What kind of person is he? He actually came to the Guiyao planet of the Hongliu galaxy just for a so-called heavenly secret that is still uncertain, and he even gave me a deity-level technique. It seems that the elder in his tribe who can see through heavenly secret must have been very accurate. Otherwise, he would not be so concerned about it. Luo Qinghan was in a dilemma. Originally, she had already made up her mind not to take anything from him, but she did not expect that he would leave such a message for her. It was as if he was forcing her to accept all of this. If she did not accept it, she might not be able to help him resolve a life-and-death crisis in the future. Forget it. Perhaps there really is a heavenly secret. Otherwise, why would he give me a deity tribulation-level cultivation technique? I will accept everything that he has given me. In the future, if there is anything that I can help him with, I will do my best, even if I have to go through fire and water. Luo Qinghan was very clear about what the deity-level technique that he had given her meant to her. It was a great opportunity that could change her fate. At this moment, a loud and clear voice suddenly came from the sky, echoing throughout the entire Guiyao planet. After 20 hours, the formation will be activated. You can come out at that time. Let me remind you that you must come out no later than 46 hours. If you continue to stay in there for more than 46 hours, your results in the alliance hunt will be revoked. This voice was amplified by the chain of matrices that covered the Guiyao planet. At the same time, it reached the ears of all the disciples on the Guiyao planet. In an instant, the disciples of the alliance knew that they did not have much time left. They had to make good use of the remaining 24 hours to kill as many beasts as possible and cut off their heads to accumulate points for this alliance hunt. This voice was heard by both Zhou Donghuang and Luo Qinghan. Zhou Donghuang walked casually, attacking any ultimate Dharma beasts he encountered. As for the other beasts, as long as they did not provoke him, he did not even bother to attack. In the remaining 24 hours, if I do not meet Third Senior Sister and Donghuang, the heads of the mid-Dharma beasts that I have collected previously will be destroyed. If he did not meet He Mingxi and Donghuang before leaving the Guiyao planet, he would not be able to hand over his space ring to them after leaving. This was not allowed by the rules of the alliance hunt. This was because after leaving, he would have to hand over his spoils of battle immediately. Furthermore, he would be isolated and would not be allowed to interact with those who had just come out. He could only interact with those who had also handed over their spoils of battle. The reason why there was such a rule was to prevent a group of disciples from a certain sect from concentrating their few spoils of war on a single person to fulfill that person's wish. On the other side, In the remaining time, Luo Qinghan found a secluded place and took out the deity-level technique, Thousand-Star Sword technique, to memorize it. She planned to memorize it completely before leaving and then destroy the stack of paper that recorded it. Otherwise she would not be able to rest easy. This was a deity-level technique. She did not feel safe when it was placed on her in the form of paper. In fact, she felt stifled and suffocated. 20 hours passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, the disciples of the various sects who were participating in the alliance hunt on the Guiyao planet also began to leave. Many of them felt that even if they continued to hunt for beasts in the remaining 4 to 6 hours, it would be difficult to achieve anything. Since this was the case, they might as well leave earlier. Chapter 280. There's still an hour left, let's go out. As the deadline neared, there was still an hour to go, and Zhou Donghuang still had not met either He Mingxi or Donghuang. He immediately realized that the chances of meeting either of them in the next hour were close to zero. Perhaps the two of them had already gone out. As he thought of this, he did not intend to stay any longer. Whoosh! In a flash, Zhou Donghuang seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning as he flew out of the Guiyao planet. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed out of the formation. At this time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he was also quarantined in an area. Those who have just come out, stand over here. Then report your name and the sect you belong to, and hand over your space ring for safekeeping. Those who had come out had to hand over the space ring that contained the brains of the beasts they had hunted. Before they had set off, the Lightning Sword sect leader had given each of the 40 people, including Duanling Tian, a space ring that required a drop of blood to be recognized as its owner. Now Zhou Donghuang and the others had handed over their space rings, and those who had taken their space rings were temporarily unable to open them. Zhou Donghuang, disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang and a few others stood together, and a middle-aged man collected their space rings and recorded their information. When it was his turn, he opened his mouth and immediately attracted the attention of a group of people around him. He's Zhou Donghuang? There were a total of 52 sects in the alliance. Other than the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, the Tiansong sect, the Yunhua sect, and the Jihan sect, the disciples of the other sects who had come to participate in the alliance hunt did not recognize Zhou Donghuang. Because of this, Zhou Donghuang's appearance earlier had not caused much of a commotion. Now, hearing him report his name and sect, the eyes of the crowd immediately fell on him. Even the other people in charge of registration were no exception. He looks so young. This Zhou Donghuang seems to be only 26 years old now, right? Yes. 2 years ago he was already famous in the various sects of the alliance. Even the 2 transcendental forces in the Hongliu galaxy have his name. 24 years old, a mid-Dharma adept who has mastered the Dharma-body integration. Now, 2 years later, his ability must be even stronger. In the Hongliu galaxy, no one below the late Dharma stage can be his match. The surrounding crowd whispered to each other. However, among this group of people, there was one person who recognized Zhou Donghuang. He was a disciple of the Yunhua sect, and when he heard the people around him say that Zhou Donghuang would be hard-pressed to find a match for anyone below the late Dharma stage, and that they still treated Zhou Donghuang as a mid-Dharma adept, he could not help but interrupt. I'm afraid you guys don't know yet, but Zhou Donghuang has already entered the late Dharma stage. Naturally, his words caused quite a commotion. Zhou Donghuang, who was publicly acknowledged as a martial arts genius of the Lightning Sword sect that only appeared once every few hundred years, had actually entered the late Dharma stage in just 2 years? This cultivation speed is too heaven-defying, isn't it? Reaching the mid-Dharma stage at the age of 24 is already shocking enough. Reaching the late Dharma stage at the age of 26? Not only were the disciples of the various sects shocked, but even the higher-ups of the various sects who were in charge of collecting the space rings of the various sects were shocked as well. They all looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. Seeing this, the Yunhua sect disciple seemed to be very satisfied, and he dropped another bombshell. There's one more thing that you guys probably don't know yet. Mo Tian, the number 1 of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect and a late Dharma adept who has mastered Dharma-body integration, sparred with Zhou Donghuang the day before this alliance hunt. After successfully attracting the attention of the crowd, he continued, Zhou Donghuang allowed Mo Tian 3 moves, but Mo Tian was not able to hurt Zhou Donghuang at all. After the 3 moves, Zhou Donghuang defeated Mo Tian with 1 move. As the Yunhua sect disciple finished speaking, the crowd unsurprisingly gasped. Everyone looked at Zhou Donghuang once again, and the shock on their faces grew even more intense. They knew who Mo Tian was. He was the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, and he was very famous among the various sects of the alliance. However, such a person had been defeated by Zhou Donghuang, a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect? I should be able to leave now, right? Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang looked at the middle-aged man who had recorded his name and sect, as well as received his space ring. Yes. The middle-aged man quickly recovered from his shock and nodded hurriedly. Seeing this, Zhou Donghuang left. As soon as Zhou Donghuang left, the crowd immediately turned to look at him. Who would have thought that Mo Tian, who was reported dead just 48 hours ago, would have been defeated by him so badly? What bad luck. Before entering the Guiyao planet, he was tortured while he was still alive, and once he entered the Guiyao planet, he was immediately killed. The higher-ups of the sects who were responsible for recording the names of the people who came out and collecting the space rings shook their heads and sighed. As soon as he said this, the crowd of Alliance disciples who had just come out suddenly narrowed their eyes. Mo Tian is dead? My God! That Mo Tian was a late Dharma adept and had mastered the Dharma body integration technique. With the ultimate Dharma spirit weapon, it was not difficult for him to kill the ultimate Dharma beasts on the Guiyao planet. He actually died in there? Could it be that he was surrounded and killed by a few ultimate Dharma beasts? Even Mo Tian died in there. If I were to come out alive, wouldn't I have to kowtow and thank God for his mercy? Brother Donghuang is back. After Zhou Donghuang saw the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, from afar, he walked towards him. At this time, most of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect had already returned, and when the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect saw him, their eyes lit up. As expected, Zhou Donghuang's return attracted the attention of everyone in the Lightning Sword sect. Just as Zhou Donghuang had guessed, be it he Mingxi or Donghuang, both of them had already come out. Sect leader. After returning to the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Donghuang first greeted Yu Yuqing. Yu Yuqing looked at him with a smile. Zhou Donghuang, did you have a good haul this time? It was not too bad. Zhou Donghuang nodded. His expression was calm, without joy or sorrow. Seeing Zhou Donghuang's expression, Yu Yuqing's heart skipped a beat and he secretly guessed, could it be that Zhou Donghuang was unlucky inside and did not encounter many ultimate Dharma beasts? In the alliance hunt, ability was important, but luck was also very important. Walking past Yu Yuqing, Zhou Donghuang greeted the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and then nodded at the other three valley heads who were looking at him. He then went to look for He Mingxi and Donghuang. Little brother, why did you come out so late? Was your luck that bad? He Mingxi subconsciously thought so because she felt that if he was lucky, a day more or less would not make much of a difference in the 3 months. With her little brother's ability, if it was not for the fact that his tone was so bad, how could he have guessed it so late? Even the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, had guessed that Zhou Donghuang had been unlucky and had not managed to kill many ultimate Dharma beasts when he had heard Zhou Donghuang say the word, not too bad. A large part of the reason was because he had guessed it so late. Hearing He Mingxi's words, Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly. I just wanted to wait and see if I could meet you and Donghuang on the last day. I didn't think that you would come out first. Meet us. He Mingxi was confused. I also killed many mid-Dharma beasts and collected their brains to give them to you, but I didn't think that you would come out first. Zhou Donghuang said. Unexpectedly, hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, He Mingxi said nonchalantly, it's just the brains of mid-Dharma beasts, it's nothing. One brain can only accumulate 10 points, and only 10 of them can be compared to one brain of a late Dharma beast. From what third sister said, it seems like we had a good harvest this time. Zhou Donghuang smiled and asked, Third sister, how many beasts did you kill? Allow us to keep you in suspense for a while. He Mingxi laughed and said, Donghuang and I have agreed that all of our spoils will be given to me alone, so it shouldn't be a problem for us to get first place. When that time comes, you will definitely get the Sky Sun fruit that you want, little junior brother. He Mingxi's words made Zhou Donghuang's heart tremble, and he could not help but feel touched. You didn't have to do this. Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly and shook his head. Actually, my harvest was not bad either. He knew that this time, Donghuang would definitely not be able to get any points. All of his spoils had been given to third sister, and now that he had also handed over his space ring, even if the two of them wanted to redistribute the spoils, it would be impossible. Donghuang and I often split up to hunt beasts and our luck is not bad. He Mingxi smiled and said, Your harvest alone is definitely not as good as ours. With both of our spoils combined, unless someone is extremely lucky, otherwise there's almost no doubt who will win. In the alliance hunt, everyone wanted to be at the top of the leaderboard. Therefore, other than a small number of ultimate Dharma adepts, the rest of the people, even if they were to hunt beasts with others on the Guiyao planet, could not possibly hand over all of their spoils to each other. Mingxi and Donghuang's situation was extremely rare. One had to know that the final ranking of the alliance hunt was extremely important to everyone. Even if they did not receive any rewards at the time, they would still be able to use their results in the future to purchase some precious elixirs from the alliance headquarters, and those elixirs were limited to the number of people who could purchase them. No matter how many points one obtained in the alliance hunt, one could only purchase one bottle or one pill from the alliance headquarters. Because of this, even among ultimate Dharma adepts, there were not many who would be willing to give away their spoils of battle. Chapter 281. Oh yes, little brother. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, Mingxi said to Zhou Donghuang with a serious expression, 22 days ago, among the disciples of the various sects who participated in the alliance hunt, the first 2 disciples who came out were from the Tiansong sect. After they came out, they brought back a piece of news. Mo Yiqian is dead. When he heard Mingxi's first sentence, Zhou Donghuang had already guessed what she was going to say. After all, he had killed Mo Yiqian with his own hands. There was another early Dharma Tiansong sect disciple who was killed with Mo Yiqian. Mingxi said. The 2 Tiansong sect disciples said that the person's figure and attire were very similar to yours. He was also dressed in white, but he wore a devil mask. If that person had not shown his Dharma power, they would have thought that it was you. At this point, Mingxi looked at Zhou Donghuang, and her gaze suddenly became a little strange. They said that the person's Dharma power was a flying beast Dharma power that seemed to be burning with flames, and that he had mastered Dharma power control. Dharma power control. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, there seemed to be no such existence. However, in the current generation of the Honglio galaxy, she did not know about others, but she knew that there were 3 people who had mastered Dharma power control. One of them was her little brother Zhou Donghuang, and the other 2 were her and Donghuang. Although she and Donghuang had switched to different techniques, they were both deities' tribulation techniques. Once they switched and tempered their Dharma power slightly, their Dharma power would be tempered to the extreme, and they would be able to use the legendary technique of Dharma power control. Of course, so far she and Donghuang did not even dare to use the Dharmic possession technique in front of others, much less Dharma power control. Once they used it, people would definitely suspect that they had obtained a heaven-defying technique, and it would bring them disaster. After all, many people in the Lightning Sword sect knew how strong they were in the past. Little brother, if not for the fact that your Dharma power was different from that person's, I could not help but suspect that that person was you. Mingxi said softly. Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly and did not respond. He knew that his 3rd senior sister would definitely suspect him, but she would definitely dispel that thought. After all, when he had killed Mo Yiqian, he had used the Vermilion Bird Dharma power that he had never used before. It was also the Vermilion Bird Dharma power that had only recently broken through to the late Dharma stage during the alliance hunt. At this point, out of his 4 divine beast Dharma powers, 3 of them had already entered the late Dharma stage. Only the Black Tortoise Dharma form had yet to break through. Once his Black Tortoise Dharma power had a breakthrough, he could then begin to break through to the ultimate Dharma stage. Before that, even if he wanted to break through to the ultimate Dharma stage, he would not be able to do so. This was because only when all 4 of the Dharma powers had reached the late Dharma stage would he be able to advance further. This was no different from when he was at the primal core stage in the past. What's the reaction of the Tiansong sect so far? Zhou Donghuang asked. After all, this concerned Luo Qinghan, so he could not help but ask. The Tiansong sect leader flew into a rage on the spot and wanted to bring people into the Guiyao planet to search for the person who killed his disciple. This is because, be it him or the other sect leaders, they all suspect that the person is not from the Honglio galaxy, but someone who accidentally appeared on the Guiyao planet. Because his level of practice has not reached the primordial soul stage, the 3 mid-divine transformation elders did not discover any traces of him. Mingxi said. However, because the alliance hunt has not officially ended, the 3 mid-divine transformation elders did not allow the Tiansong sect leader to enter at this time. They only allowed him to enter after the alliance hunt had ended. However, before that, they have already sent many people to be scattered around the Guiyao planet. If anyone tries to take advantage of the situation and leave, the higher-ups of the various sects will act to capture them. This is also to prevent Mo Yiqian's murderer from leaving. This time, Mo Yiqian's death is suspected to have been caused by a martial adept outside the alliance. As the higher-ups of the alliance, the three elders are very concerned about this. Now the people of the Lightning Sword sect are here. The sect leader, my father, and the rest are also in charge of monitoring this area. If anyone tries to take advantage of the situation to leave, they will act to stop them. At this point, Mingxi glanced at the Lightning Sword sect leader and her father, and then at the other three valley heads of the four valleys of the inner sect. Senior sister, could it be that someone from one of the sects of the alliance acted because they saw that there was trouble? Donghuang asked, scratching the back of his head. Impossible. Mingxi shook her head. If it was someone from one of the sects of the alliance, even if they had the ability to save Luo Qinghan, they could not have killed Mo Tian. Everyone in the sects of the alliance knows that Mo Tian is the favorite of the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu. Killing Mo Tian is no different from killing his son. No one is willing to bear the wrath of the Tiansong sect leader. Furthermore, even if he was from one of the sects of the alliance, after killing Mo Tian and the other Tiansong sect disciple, he would definitely not let the other two Tiansong sect disciples go. Luo Qinghan, as the victim, could keep his secret, but the other two Tiansong sect disciples could not. Most importantly, that person has mastered the technique of Dharma power control. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, I have never heard of a Dharma adept who has mastered Dharma power control. Of course we don't count. As she spoke the last sentence, Mingxi once again lowered her voice to a whisper like that of a mosquito. Only Zhou Donghuang and Donghuang, who were standing close to her, could hear her. Putting everything together, we can conclude that that person must have come from outside the Honglio galaxy. Furthermore, he may have a powerful background. At this point, Mingxi's eyes narrowed slightly. The three elders have already spoken to the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu. If that person is just a non-affiliated practitioner, then it is fine. If that person has a powerful background, even if he killed Mo Tian, the Tiansong sect will not be allowed to take revenge. The alliance will not allow the Tiansong sect to take revenge. Mingxi glanced at Zhou Donghuang. Not every Dharma adept who has mastered the technique of Dharma power control has had such a miraculous encounter as you, little junior brother. If this kind of person is not a non-affiliated practitioner, he must have a powerful entity behind him, or a powerful sect or a powerful family behind him. The Tiansong sect cannot afford to offend such an existence, and neither can the alliance. Even the two strongest transcendental forces of the Honglio galaxy cannot afford to offend such an existence. An existence like that can easily destroy the Tiansong sect and even the alliance. Zhou Donghuang had not expected that wearing a mask and using the vermilion bird Dharma power would cause such a series of effects. However, from the looks of it, everything had been settled. As for what happened to Luo Qinghan after she came out, he was not worried. Luo Qinghan was a victim. Furthermore, before he parted ways with her, he had already taught her what to say when they got out. The Tiansong sect leader could not possibly vent his anger on her. Sect leader, you? A middle-aged man dressed in gray rushed over from afar. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing. The three deputy alliance leaders have ordered that each sect leave two primordial soul adepts behind to keep watch. If anyone tries to leave the Guiyao planet, they must be captured, but they are not to be harmed. As for the various sect leaders and their Dharma disciples, they are to head south to announce the final results and rankings of the alliance hunt. Sect leader Yu, please make the arrangements. I still have to inform the other sect leaders, so I'll make a move first. The middle-aged man in gray rushed over and left in a hurry. After he left, Yu Yuqing immediately gave orders for the Summer Valley Head and Winter Valley Head to stand guard over the area. He brought the Spring Valley Head, Autumn Valley Head, and a group of Dharma disciples to the south to meet up with the various sect leaders and Dharma disciples to announce the final results and rankings of the alliance hunt. Little junior brother, am I right? When the time is up, someone will inform us to go over. Mingxi smiled as she looked at Zhou Donghuang. Long before the middle-aged man in gray appeared, the alliance hunt was about to end, and the various sects were still scattered all over the Guiyao planet. Zhou Donghuang could not help but wonder how the Dharma disciples of the various sects were going to take out their trophies and announce the final results and rankings of the alliance hunt. At that time, Mingxi had said that someone would inform them to go over. Now that person had indeed come. As Zhou Donghuang, Mingxi, and Donghuang followed the Lightning Sword sect's large group south, they soon saw a large group of people gathering in the distance. There were at least a few hundred people. Furthermore, the number was still increasing. When Zhou Donghuang and the rest of the Lightning Sword sect arrived, there were already more than 1,000 people. Tiansong sect leader. Zhou Donghuang casually scanned his surroundings and quickly saw the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu, standing not far away. He was leading a group of people from the Tiansong sect, standing in the distance. His originally benevolent face was now extremely gloomy. Among the group of people from the Tiansong sect, he saw the two people he had intentionally let off a month ago on the Guiyao planet. Sect leader, the people from the Jihan sect are here. Just as Zhou Donghuang's gaze fell on the group of people from the Tiansong sect, a disciple of the Tiansong sect looked into the distance and exclaimed to the sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu. Hearing this, Huang Chuanqiu's gaze instantly flashed like lightning. At this time, Zhou Donghuang also saw the group of people from the Jihan sect, led by the Jihan sect leader, Meng Yuping, in a grandiose manner. Luo Qinghan, who had always been at the back of the Jihan sect group, was now following closely behind Meng Yuping. Luo Qinghan. Huang Chuanqiu stepped out into the air like a bolt of lightning and appeared in front of the group of people from the Jihan sect in the blink of an eye, blocking Meng Yuping's path of retreat. His gaze was like lightning as he stared at Luo Qinghan, who was behind Meng Yuping. Who was the person who killed my disciple Mo Tian? Huang Chuanqiu asked in a low voice. Sect leader Huang, don't forget, in front of your disciple Mo Tian, who is the victim here. Luo Qinghan looked like she was about to tell him everything that had happened. Just tell me everything you know about the person who killed my disciple, Mo Tian. What a joke. Currently, the people present included more than 10 sects of the alliance. If Luo Qinghan were to reveal the things that his disciple Mo Tian had done, even if his disciple Mo Tian was dead, he would still be looked down upon and scolded by others. Sect leader Meng Yuping of the Jihan sect, who had seen through Huang Chuanqiu's thoughts, snorted coldly. However, in consideration of the friendship between the two of them, she did not expose Huang Chuanqiu. Luo Qinghan, just tell me what you know about that person. Yes, sect leader. Luo Qinghan answered again. At this time, Huang Chuanqiu also looked at Meng Yuping with gratitude and guilt, then looked back at Luo Qinghan. And now, everyone present, including the 3 mid-divine transformation adepts of the alliance, who were also the 3 deputy leaders of the alliance, turned their attention to Luo Qinghan. They already knew that Mo Tian, the disciple of the Tiansong sect leader Huang Chuanqiu, had been killed. At this moment they were all curious. What kind of person was the person who had killed Mo Tian? I don't know much about that person. Luo Qinghan was not the least bit afraid of Huang Chuanqiu's gaze, which seemed to be able to see through everything. She stared back at him and said slowly, after he killed Mo Tian and saved me, he asked me why there were so many people on the Guiyao planet. When he heard Luo Qinghan say that the person had saved her, Huang Chuanqiu frowned. Wasn't this indirectly implying that his disciple Mo Tian had harmed her? However, Luo Qinghan had already spoken, and he could not change her mind. He could only give Luo Qinghan a warning look. Luo Qinghan's gaze was as calm as ever, as if she did not notice Huang Chuanqiu's warning look. I told him the reason. Then he wanted to help me hunt demon beasts and help me accumulate points, but he was rejected by me. Seeing that I rejected him, he had no intention of leaving and even wanted to follow me. Hearing this, many people nodded to themselves. Most men would not easily leave a beauty like Luo Qinghan after saving the damsel in distress. A fair lady was a gentleman's match. I asked him directly if he was interested in me, and he admitted it. Then I told him that I was already married. Luo Qinghan said lightly, then he left awkwardly. That's it? Huang Chuanqiu frowned. That's it. Did he take off his mask? Or tell me who he was? He did not have time to tell me and I rejected him. It had to be said that Luo Qinghan's response to Huang Chuanqiu was flawless, and Huang Chuanqiu could not say anything. He could not possibly say to Luo Qinghan, why didn't you calm him down first, get him to take off his mask and ask him about his background before letting him leave? One had to know that in the end Luo Qinghan was the victim in this whole matter. Sect leader Huang. At this time the Jihan sect leader Meng Yuping, who had asked Luo Qinghan to return, looked at Huang Chuanqiu. Based on the current situation, that person of unknown origin should still be on the Guiyao planet. I think you can take advantage of the fact that the alliance hunt has not ended to enter the Guiyao planet to see if you can find that person. Now there are still people from the various sects guarding the planet, making it difficult for him to escape. But once the alliance hunt ends, I'm afraid that not many people from the sects will be in the mood to help you guard the Guiyao planet and capture that person, right? As she said this, Meng Yuping's gaze became more profound. Hearing this, Huang Chuanqiu's expression changed. He left behind a group of Dharma adepts and brought a few senior members of the Tiansong sect with him as he hurriedly descended from the sky and flew towards the Guiyao planet, preparing to enter it. Elder Qingshan, Elder Ti Luo and I will also make a trip to the Guiyao planet to see if we can help the Tiansong sect find that person. I'll have to trouble you here. One of the 3 soul formation mid-stage old men said to the other. Then he and the remaining elder headed towards the Guiyao planet. They were as fast as the wind, and their speed was far faster than Huang Chuanqiu and the others. He Mingshi whispered to Zhou Donghuang from where the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect was. Those 2 old men are following them in now. I'm sure it's not as simple as helping the Tiansong sect find the person. They're probably worried that the Tiansong sect will kill the person after they find him. If that person has a powerful background and dies here, not only will it bring disaster to the Tiansong sect, but it will also implicate the alliance. As deputy leaders of the alliance, this is something they will not allow. The various sects of the alliance share honor and disgrace. If the Tiansong sect is unlucky, the other sects, including the Lightning Sword sect, will definitely follow suit. He Mingshi's words had hit the nail on the head. Zhou Donghuang nodded, but his gaze was fixed on Luo Qinghan, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Luo Qinghan did not deal with the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu, as he had said. According to him, Zhuge Haoyin had followed Luo Qinghan like a pox plaster, helping her kill beasts along the way, so she had accumulated quite a number of points in this alliance hunt. As for those points, even if it was an outsider helping her, it was still useful. Even if it was an outsider, it was not someone above the primordial soul stage, so it did not violate the rules of the alliance hunt. Furthermore, who could be sure that those beasts were not injured by someone who had helped Luo Qinghan and then killed them herself? It was difficult to draw a line in this regard. Because of this, no one had any objections to Luo Qinghan's accumulated points. However, he did not expect that when Luo Qinghan faced Huang Chuanqiu, she would actually change her words. Could it be that she intends to give up the opportunity to rank among the top in this alliance hunt? Zhou Donghuang was clear that since Luo Qinghan had said those words, it was definitely not convenient for her to take out the heads of the beasts that he had helped her kill. This was because once she took them out, the large number of heads would definitely cause people to suspect that the person had helped her. In that case, what she had said before would definitely be suspected by others. It was also because of this that Zhou Donghuang had taught Luo Qinghan to tell Huang Chuanqiu the name of the person, and that the person was from the Zhuge family of a galaxy, and that there was a celestial adept in the family. The Zhuge family that he had mentioned actually existed. It was the family behind his biological mother, Zhuge Jing, and there was indeed a celestial adept in the family. Come to think of it, if Luo Qinghan had told him all this, not just the Tiansong sect leader, but even the 3 mid-divine transformation adepts who were in charge of this alliance hunt would not dare to think of trying to drag the person out of the Guiyao planet. This stubborn girl. Could it be that she thinks that by using the beast that I have helped her kill to accumulate points, she owes me a favor? And she is not willing to owe me a favor? At this moment, Zhou Donghuang could not help but think of this, and his heart was filled with helplessness. Luo Qinghan naturally noticed that Zhou Donghuang was looking at Luo Qinghan, but after glancing at Zhou Donghuang, she retracted her gaze and sighed in her heart. It's a pity that it's not you. At this moment, even Luo Qinghan herself could not have imagined that she would have such an involuntary thought. Chapter 283. If he knew that after I came out, I did not relay what he said to the others, I'm sure he would feel that it was a waste of time. Luo Qinghan subconsciously glanced at Zhou Donghuang again. They had the exact same build and were dressed in similar white clothes. She could not help but imagine another white figure appearing in her mind. She imagined Zhou Donghuang wearing the grimacing mask, looking almost exactly like him. Of course, she knew that Zhou Donghuang and Zhuge Haoyin were destined to be 2 different people. Zhou Donghuang's direction was the giant tiger Dharma power. Zhuge Haoyin's Dharma power was the flying beast Dharma power. The 2 were completely unrelated. I hoped that if he knew, he would understand me. Not only do I not want to owe him favors, but I also don't want to tarnish his reputation. Luo Qinghan sighed in her heart. As the 2 mid-divine transformation adepts of the alliance left with the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chuanqiu, and the others, the remaining mid-divine transformation adept spoke at the right time to attract everyone's attention. I see that the people of the 52 sects of the alliance are almost all here. Next, disciples of the various sects, when you hear the name of your sect, come forward and take out the brains of the beasts in your space rings in front of us. This will make it easier for us to calculate the points and come up with the final rankings. For the beasts on the Guiyao planet, within 3 months of their death, there will still be a trace of restless spirit energy in their brains. After 3 months, the trace of spirit energy in their brains will disappear completely. Therefore, if anyone takes out a space ring that does not contain the unique spirit energy of the Guiyao planet, it means that they have hunted the beasts on the Guiyao planet before the start of the Alliance hunt. This kind of behavior will result in the cancellation of the results. After saying this, the old man's gaze fell on the middle-aged man beside him. Let's begin. Because the rules of the Alliance hunt were already known by the disciples of the various sects, no one would do anything stupid. Even after hearing the old man's words, no one felt guilty. Yes, Deputy Alliance Leader. The middle-aged man was obviously in charge of calculating the results of the Alliance hunt this time. His gaze first fell on the group of people from the nearest sect, and he said in a clear voice, "Now, Dharma disciples of the Luli sect, come forward." The Colored Glass sect, one of the 52 sects of the Alliance, was also one of the top sects in the Hunglio galaxy. This time, out of the 40 Dharma adepts of the Colored Glass sect that had entered the Guiyao planet, only less than 30 of them had made it out alive. After about half an hour, the results of the group of Dharma disciples of the Colored Glass sect had been recorded. At this time, the middle-aged man who was in charge of tabulating the results of the Dharma disciples of the various sects spoke again and called for the Dharma disciples of the nearby sects to come forward. Among the Dharma adepts of this sect, the one with the best score was 5,600 points. Although this was not bad, with Shimin Wanwan of the Colored Glass sect in front of him, he seemed to pale in comparison. Thus, not many people paid attention to him. Most people were paying attention to the results at the back. I wonder how many sects will have a Dharma disciple whose result can surpass that of Shimin Wanwan of the Colored Glass sect. Many people were looking forward to it. After half an hour, the third sect came forward to tabulate the results. There was one person whose score was close to Shimin Wanwan's. He was only 100 points away from surpassing her, but in the end he did not surpass her. With these points, it should not be too difficult for him to make it into the top 30. It's the Red Leaves sect's turn. The fourth sect came forward, causing a commotion among the disciples of the various sections. All eyes were focused on one of the 30 Dharma disciples of the Red Leaves sect. This was a young man of average build. His hair was messy, and he was dressed in a simple and tattered robe. He looked a little sloppy, but now he had become the focus of everyone's attention. He is the top disciple of the younger generation of the Red Leaves sect, Bailey Feiyang. He Mingshi introduced him to Zhou Donghuang. If Shimin Wanwan is on par with Mo Tian of the Tiansong sect, then he is the top disciple of the younger generation of the various sects of the Alliance. He is ranked ahead of Shimin Wanwan and Mo Tian. Before he broke through to the late Dharma stage, he mastered the Dharma body integration technique. He is the top talent of the Red Leaves sect in hundreds of years. This year he has just turned 30. He Mingshi's introduction of Bailey Feiyang caused Zhou Donghuang to involuntarily follow her gaze. He was not surprised by Bailey Feiyang's achievements, but by the fact that Bailey Feiyang could achieve so much at such a young age in a galaxy as backward as the Hunglio galaxy. If such a person had been in another galaxy with rich training resources, he would have achieved much more at this age. 8,130 points. When Bailey Feiyang's result was announced, it caused a commotion among the crowd. Even the Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were so shocked that their eyes widened. My God! More than 8,000 points? The champion of the previous Alliance hunt only had 8,000 points, right? Although it was a few hundred points more than this number, the difference was very small. With this number of points, he would have been ranked first in the Alliance hunt 2 years ago. Chapter 284. The disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the Unua sect spoke one after another, and they spoke passionately and passionately. Those who did not know better might have thought that Zhou Donghuang had hired them to flatter him. However, it had to be said that their intentionally raised voices were very useful. At least, in a short while, the people of the various sects present all understood what they had said. Zhou Donghuang. Everyone present had an impression of the Lightning Sword sect disciple Zhou Donghuang. This was especially so for the Thunder Knife sect leader, as well as the Dharma disciples of the Thunder Knife sect who had followed the Thunder Knife sect leader to the Lightning Sword sect in the past. However, their understanding of Zhou Donghuang was limited to the past. They knew nothing about the current Zhou Donghuang. Of course, they subconsciously felt that even if Zhou Donghuang had improved in just 2 short years, it would not have been by much. He gave Mo Tian 3 moves and Mo Tian did not touch him at all? After 3 moves he defeated Mo Etienne with 1 move? The group of people from the Thunder Knife sect had heard the conversation between the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the Yunhua sect. Han Yujing, who had originally thought that he would be able to compete with Zhou Donghuang and had even wanted to compete with Zhou Donghuang in terms of points in this alliance hunt, was now completely dumbfounded. Han Yujing was the one who had been brought to the Lightning Sword sect by the Thunder Knife sect leader to suppress the group of mid-Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. The Thunder Knife sect was known as the once-in-a-century genius of the Tailao planet. In the past, the Thunder Knife sect leader had wanted to use Han Yujing as a trump card to suppress the Lightning Sword sect. They would never have dreamed that the Lightning Sword sect would have a mid-Dharma disciple who was about the same age as Han Yujing, but far more powerful than him. That time the group of people from the Thunder Knife sect had come aggressively and left pathetically. 2 years had passed, and Han Yujing had entered the late Dharma stage. He had also further refined his Dharma power and mastered the Dharma body integration technique. He was confident that even if he met Zhou Donghuang again he would not lose. He did not expect that the Lightning Sword sect and the Yunhua sect disciples would reveal such a shocking piece of news. At first many did not believe it. However, with the Jihan sect leader and the Jihan sect disciples testifying as witnesses, and the Tiansong sect disciples present not having any objections, the group of people, including Han Yujing, had no choice but to believe it. Initially, I thought that I would be able to wash away my previous humiliation. But now it seems like it was just a delusion. He had thought that his luck was not bad, but he had not expected that the other party's luck would not be any worse than his. Hu Jingshan, a disciple of the Taichung sect, was also the number 1 of the younger generation of the Taichung sect. In the alliance he was on par with Bailey Feiyang in terms of age and ability. Zhou Donghuang, as the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing, led the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect forward. A young man in the group of people who had cleared the way stared fiercely at Zhou Donghuang, who was in the crowd of the Lightning Sword sect. Sensing this unusual stare, Zhou Donghuang subconsciously looked at the owner of the stare. It's him. He still had some impression of this person. Previously on the Guiyao planet he had met this person before. He had been helpless against a pair of ultimate Dharma beasts, and in the end he had killed the 2 beasts and taken their heads. Before leaving this person had wanted a share of the spoils, but he had ignored him. He had not contributed, and yet he wanted a share of the spoils? He was thinking too much. D*MN. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had only glanced at him casually before looking away, the disciple of the Yuanyin order, Zhong Qingsai's expression became increasingly ugly. He felt humiliated. This Zhou Donghuang had actually ignored him. At this time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the people of the Lightning Sword sect had also arrived at the front. And just as they arrived at the front, a few sect leaders standing in the front row took the initiative to greet Yu Yuqing, the Lightning Sword sect leader. Sect leader Yu, your Lightning Sword sect is really lucky to have a disciple like Zhou Donghuang. This time the first place of the alliance hunt will most likely be his. Sect leader Yu, congratulations in advance. Sect leader Yu, your Lightning Sword sect has come prepared this time. Faced with the warm greetings of the sect leaders, Yu Yuqing's smile was uglier than a cry. Everyone, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Our Lightning Sword sect's Zhou Donghuang has not been very lucky this time on the Guiyao planet. As soon as Yu Yuqing said this, the sect leaders were first stunned, and then their eyes flashed with a hint of joy, but they still sighed. If that's the case, then he's really not very lucky. Sect leader Yu, even if Zhou Donghuang does not rank highly in this time's alliance hunt, it does not mean anything. The alliance hunt is not only about ability but also about luck. Sect leader Yu, the ranking of the alliance hunt cannot overshadow Zhou Donghuang's brilliance. Although the few of them were comforting him, they were actually overjoyed. So what if the Lightning Sword sect had such an outstanding disciple? If he was unlucky, he would still not be able to shine in the alliance hunt. Chapter 285. Zhou Donghuang is unlucky? Furthermore, these words had been personally said by the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, to the other sect leaders. Through word of mouth, almost everyone present knew about this. Looks like it will be difficult for Zhou Donghuang to rank high in the alliance hunt this time. I thought that his points would be higher than Bailey Feiyang's and shock the world. Looks like I was too hopeful. What a pity, he has such amazing abilities, but because of his bad luck, he will not be able to shine in this alliance hunt. Looks like Bailey Feiyang still has a chance of winning first place in this alliance hunt. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Even Hu Jingshan, who was standing beside Bailey Feiyang, was shocked. He smiled and said to Bailey Feiyang, "Looks like you still have a chance of winning second place." However, Bailey Feiyang could not be bothered with him. "Luo Qinghan, looks like your man has accumulated very few points this time, perhaps not even as many as I have." Meng Yuping's direct disciple, Zhong Feng, had unknowingly appeared beside Luo Qinghan. She teased her, but her lips were curled up in a gloating smile. When Mo Tian, the genius disciple of the Tiansong sect, had said that he had fallen in love with Luo Qinghan at first sight, Zhong Feng, who had admired Mo Tian for a long time, had been jealous. Now that Mo Tian had died indirectly because of Luo Qinghan, she hated Luo Qinghan from the bottom of her heart. She felt that if Mo Tian had not died, there was still a possibility that he could have been with her and married her. But now that Mo Tian was dead, all her dreams had come to nothing. Under such circumstances, thinking that Luo Qinghan was Zhou Donghuang's woman, her heart twisted with jealousy. At this time she finally had a chance. Naturally, she could not help but run to Luo Qinghan's side to add insult to injury. However, Luo Qinghan ignored Zhong Feng and ignored her completely. No matter how much Zhong Feng glared at her with hatred. Bad luck? Now, even the person in charge of the alliance, the deputy alliance leader, the mid-divine transformation old man, could not help but look disappointed after hearing the words of the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing. As for the middle-aged man who had originally wanted to be the first to calculate Zhou Donghuang's points, he did not speak anymore. He allowed his subordinates to help the group of Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect to calculate their points. Zhou Donghuang, He Mingxi and Dezhuang stood together at the back. As the results of the Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect came out one by one, the attention of the people from the various sects was no longer focused on the Lightning Sword sect. Most of them were not even interested in Zhou Donghuang's results. Since he was unlucky, he must not have accumulated many points. Not to mention Bailey Hong Fei of the Red Leaves sect, he might not even be as good as Shiman Wanwan of the Colored Glass sect. Seeing that the group of disciples from the Lightning Sword sect had stepped forward, the number of people who were paying attention to him decreased, and the sect leaders of the nearby sects were still trying to comfort him. Even though Yu Yuqing tried his best to force a smile on his face in response, his heart was filled with bitterness. Along the way they were in the limelight, the attention of tens of thousands. But now he seemed to have become the most pitiful person present. So what if Zhou Donghuang does not achieve much in this alliance hunt? His ability and his talent are unparalleled among the younger generation of the alliance, and even among the younger generation of the alliance in the past 1,000 years. As he thought of this, Yu Yuqing felt a little more comforted. "Little junior brother, let me go first." Finally it was Zhou Donghuang, Dezhuang and He Mingxi's turn. He Mingxi stepped forward first, and at the same time she looked back at the people behind her, a faint smile playing on her lips. Today the Lightning Sword sect was destined to be the center of attention. Even if her little junior brother was unlucky and did not accumulate many points. He Mingxi stepped forward first, and Zhou Donghuang did not fight with her, smiling as he allowed her to go first. At the same time, the Lightning Sword sect disciples who had finished recording their points and turned to look at Zhou Donghuang subconsciously. When they looked away they all smiled bitterly and shook their heads. They had originally thought that Zhou Donghuang would be able to make the Lightning Sword sect shine in this alliance hunt, but they did not expect that Zhou Donghuang was unlucky and did not accumulate any points. Even though Zhou Donghuang had not expressed his opinion from the start. However, from their point of view, since even the Lightning Sword sect leader had said so, and Zhou Donghuang had not refuted it, it seemed that this was the truth. If they were in Zhou Donghuang's shoes, if they were unlucky and did not have good results, they would not have agreed with the Lightning Sword sect leader's words. "Zhou Donghuang, so what if you snatched my 2 ultimate Dharma beasts? In the end you still did not accumulate many points, did you?" The Yuanyin ordered disciple, Zhong Qingkai, looked at Zhou Donghuang's back with a mocking smile, his eyes filled with violence. "Don't let me find a chance, or else I will make sure you die a horrible death. I am indeed not your match, but I have many people around me who can kill you with one slap." The previous incident, as well as Zhou Donghuang's repeated disregard of Zhong Qingkai, had completely angered the vengeful Zhong Qingkai, causing him to want to kill Zhou Donghuang. At this point, most of the people present were no longer paying attention to the people from the Lightning Sword sect. From their point of view, if Zhou Donghuang did not have any good results, then it was even more impossible for the others to have good results. Even the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, did not say anything when he saw that He Mingxi had gone ahead to count the points. From his point of view, although He Mingxi's ability was much stronger than before, it would still be difficult for her to achieve good results in the alliance hunt. Perhaps, the points that she had accumulated were not even half of what the colored glass sect disciple, Shimin Wanwan, had. Even if she was lucky, she would not be able to catch up to Shimin Wanwan. Hence, as He Mingxi took out the beast's heads from her space ring, and as the people in front of her were counting them, Yu Yuqing sighed as he shifted his gaze to the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, who was standing beside him. Valley head He, how many points do you think your daughter will be able to accumulate this time? I'm not sure. He Jin shook his head. I asked her just now, but she only gave me a mysterious smile and kept me in suspense. Still keeping you in suspense? Yu Yuqing was taken aback and he could not help but laugh. It looks like this girl's gains in this alliance hunt have exceeded her expectations. I just don't know if she has accumulated more than 4,000 points. 4,000 points was already considered a good result. It was enough to rank in the top few hundred. We'll find out in a while. He Jin waited patiently. Not long after, an exclamation sounded from in front of He Mingxi, attracting the attention of everyone nearby. It was the voice of the person who was counting the number of beasts' heads that He Mingxi had taken out and was helping her to tally her points. 7,000 points? As soon as he said this, there was a commotion in the surroundings. What? 7,000 points? This result has already surpassed Shimin Wanwan's. Who is it? The appearance of 7,000 points caused everyone who had heard the exclamation to shift their gazes towards the group of Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect. Finally, their gazes landed on the person who had made the exclamation, and then on the figure of a woman standing in front of him. It's not Donghuang. Who is this? 7,000 points? Since when did the Lightning Sword sect have such an outstanding female disciple? The Lightning Sword sect is really full of hidden talents. First there was Donghuang, and now there's this female disciple. Everyone's gazes gathered and landed on He Mingxi's silhouette. As the daughter of the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect, there was no one in the Lightning Sword sect who did not know her. However, in the alliance there were very few people who knew her. Furthermore, He Mingxi's back was facing the crowd now. Even those who knew her would not be able to recognize her unless they were very familiar with her. 7,000 points? The Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, was dumbfounded. He had just been eagerly waiting for He Mingxi's father, the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect's inner sect, He Jin. He had hoped that He Mingxi would have 4,000 points, but now He Mingxi's points had directly exceeded 7,000. 7,000 points. What kind of concept was that? In the previous alliance hunt, she would have been able to squeeze into the top 20. Even if she had a good result this time, she would definitely be in the top 30. The most important thing was, the demonic beast heads in He Mingxi's spatial ring didn't seem to have been completely taken out. She was still continuously taking out demonic beast heads from her spatial ring, and the person who had exclaimed was also continuing to count. 7,500. 8,000. When He Mingxi's points exceeded the 8,000 mark, the people behind her could not help but approach her. Who is it? Is it really not Donghuang? That silhouette looks somewhat familiar. But it can't be her, right? When did such a person appear in the Lightning Sword sect? Yu Yuqing was so shocked that his mouth was slightly agape as if he could not close it. Although He Jin had been mentally prepared and felt that his daughter would give him a surprise, he did not expect it to be such a big surprise. When he heard that his daughter's points had exceeded 8,000, his eyes could not help but reveal a look of excitement. This was He Jin's daughter. With a daughter like this, what more could a father ask for? 8,138 points. She has surpassed Bailey Feiyang's points. When He Mingxi's points exceeded the 8,000 mark, many people's hearts were in their mouths as they wondered if she could surpass Bailey Feiyang, who currently had the highest score. Now, He Mingxi's points had really surpassed Bailey Feiyang's. The genius disciple of the Red Leaves sect, Bailey Feiyang, was one of the most outstanding youths in the alliance, but he had been surpassed by an unknown female disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Although the alliance hunt was not only about ability, it was also about luck. The other party's high points did not mean that she was stronger than Bailey Feiyang. It could only mean that she was lucky. However, no matter how lucky she was, without sufficient ability, she would not have been able to obtain so many points. Chapter 286. 8,500 points? 9,000 points? My God. This is going against the heavens. Will she break the 10,000 point mark? The last person who managed to accumulate 10,000 points in the alliance hunt was a few hundred years ago, right? That person was a spy sent by the Qi dynasty of the Honglio galaxy to obtain the Sky Sun fruit. he is not considered a member of the Alliance. If you really want to know who has managed to accumulate 10,000 points in the Alliance hunt, you have to go back even further in history. When He Mingxi's points broke the 9,000 mark, not only were the disciples of the various sects shocked, even the various sect leaders were shocked. At this moment, even the deputy Alliance leader of the mid-divine transformation stage, who did not seem to care much about the results of the Lightning Sword sect disciples because of Zhou Donghuang's tone, was now attracted to He Mingxi. My God. She's still taking the brains out of her space ring? How many beasts has she killed? Did she really kill them all alone? Isn't this too much? Who on earth is she? As more and more people paid attention to He Mingxi, someone finally recognized her. She is He Mingxi, the daughter of the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect. He Mingxi? No wonder I thought her back looked familiar. It's her? But, does she have the ability to accumulate so many points in the Alliance hunt? If it's just luck, isn't her luck a little too good? It's definitely not just luck. Good luck is one thing, her ability is definitely not that simple. Perhaps someone else gave her their gains as well? The crowd was in an uproar, and the sounds of discussion rose one after another. TSK. Bailey Feiyang, it looks like you're not fated to be second, and I'm not fated to be first either. Hu Jingshan stood beside Bailey Feiyang, shaking his head as he sighed. I've heard of He Mingxi before. Among the younger generation of the Lightning Sword sect, she's not considered one of the best, but she's only slightly above average. I didn't expect her to obtain so many brains this time. If it's really her own, I admire her. Bailey Feiyang said. Hu Jingshan shook his head again. It's basically impossible. Even for us, no matter how lucky we are, the most we can get is around 9,000 points. As for the tens of thousands of points, that is no longer a matter of luck. After all, they're only 3 months. Unless I head to a place where a large number of ultimate Dharma beasts gather, it will be difficult to obtain tens of thousands of points in just 3 months. Yes. Bailey Feiyang nodded and acknowledged Hu Jingshan's words in a rare friendly manner. It's over 10,000. Very soon He Mingxi's points broke the 10,000 mark. However, at this moment, not only did the atmosphere not continue to be high, it gradually quietened down. It's definitely not her alone. It must have been someone else from the Lightning Sword sect who helped her. They might even have given up their own spoils of war. I think so too. I really didn't expect someone to be so noble. Is he planning to give up the right to buy rare pills from the Alliance? Femme fatale, femme fatale. I don't know which idiot actually dared to buy rare pills and other precious items from the Alliance just for a woman. Now, basically no one, including the various sect leaders, thought that He Mingxi had obtained so many points alone. Even the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing and He Mingxi's father He Jin thought the same. 10,825 points. This was He Mingxi's final result, and it was a stunning result. Many people even thought that there was definitely more than one person who had given up their spoils of war to He Mingxi. At this time, even the old man who was the deputy alliance leader, looked at He Mingxi. Among these beasts of yours, how many people's spoils of war do you have? Don't worry, even if you say so, your results are still valid. I'm just curious. Since when did the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect become so united? I'm afraid that at least some of them have given up the chance to buy rare items from the Alliance. The more the old man spoke, the more he looked at He Mingxi. At this moment, even the others looked at He Mingxi curiously. Even the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were no exception. They all thought that many of their fellow disciples had given their spoils of war to He Mingxi. 2 people. Without any hesitation, as soon as the old man finished speaking, He Mingxi said frankly, "This is my and Donghuang's points added together. My own points are only slightly more than 6,700 points." As soon as He Mingxi said this, many people were shocked. They had originally thought that her points had been accumulated with the help of many people, but now it seemed that it had been accumulated by the 2 of them together. Furthermore, her actual points were slightly more than 6,700 points. This had already surpassed Shiman Wanwan of the Colored Glass sect. I see. He Jin suddenly realized that his daughter's points included her and Donghuang's. This was no wonder. At this time, Donghuang stepped forward and said, "In my space ring, there are still 200 beasts of the late Dharma stage. I can accumulate 2,000 points." Senior sister said that these 2,000 points, if nothing goes wrong, should give me the right to buy rare items from the Alliance. As Donghuang said this, he gave a silly smile, and no one doubted the veracity of his words. In the Alliance hunt, to obtain the right to buy rare items from the Alliance, the points required were not fixed. Instead, there was a limit to the number of participants. Only the top 1,000 people in the Alliance hunt could obtain the right to buy. Most of the time, the top 1,000 people in the Alliance hunt would have accumulated between 1,500 and 2,000 points. In the past few hundred years of history, there had never been a person in the top 1,000 of the Alliance hunt who had accumulated more than 2,000 points. Because of this, He Mingxi had left 2,000 points for Donghuang. With these points, he would definitely be able to squeeze into the top 1,000 of the Alliance hunt. It was also because of this that the top 1,000 people in the Alliance hunt could obtain the right to buy rare items from the Alliance. Therefore, even the ultimate Dharma adepts of the various sects would not easily give up the large amounts of spoils that they had killed in the Alliance hunt. This was because they, too, wanted to fight their way into the top 1,000. Although it was easy for them to kill ultimate Dharma beasts, they were fast, and their efficiency in finding ultimate Dharma beasts was also high. Because killing an ultimate Dharma beast only gave them 10 points, they needed to kill many ultimate Dharma beasts. In 3 months, unless they were extremely lucky, they could barely kill around 200 ultimate Dharma beasts, which was enough to ensure that they would be able to squeeze into the top 1,000 of the Alliance hunt. Even ultimate Dharma adepts were so stingy, not to mention the Dharma adepts of the various sections. Very few of them would easily give up the points they had. You still have 2,000 points? The old man was stunned for a moment, then he looked at Donghuang and asked, "That means, the points that you have accumulated are actually not much less than this girl? You also have more than 6,000 points?" "Yes." Donghuang continued to smile and nod. Donghuang's honesty made it impossible for anyone to doubt his intentions. Because of this, many people were shocked. They had not expected that 2 people from the Lightning Sword sect would have such outstanding results. Haha. At this time, the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, laughed heartily and looked at He Jin. "Valley head He, this time your Autumn Valley has brought honor to the Lightning Sword sect." "Good, very good." Yu Yuqing smiled brightly. The gloomy mood that had been clouded by Zhou Donghuang's bad luck had disappeared at this moment. "They are both Autumn Valley disciples of the Lightning Sword sect?" Yu Yuqing's words also caused many people to look at He Jin in shock. Of course, although most people believed Donghuang and He Mingxi's words and felt that Donghuang and He Mingxi were both strong and lucky, there were still a few people who felt that Donghuang's words were exaggerated and did not think that the 2 disciples of the Lightning Sword sect would be able to obtain so many points. However, no matter what they thought, it did not affect anything. He Mingxi had more than 10,000 points, so she should still be in first place. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Donghuang received his space ring and took out the brains of 200 late Dharma beasts, successfully accumulating 2,000 points. Seeing this, most of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect looked envious. "I knew that junior sister Mingxi and junior brother Donghuang left together. I didn't think that they would be so lucky. If I had known, I would have followed behind them." They all felt that regardless of whether it was He Mingxi or Donghuang, they were able to accumulate so many points purely because of their good luck. After Donghuang, it was finally Zhou Donghuang's turn. Originally, Zhou Donghuang was no longer the center of attention, but now that He Mingxi and Donghuang's points had shocked everyone present, there was still a large number of people who had not had time to turn their attention to Zhou Donghuang. Although this Zhou Donghuang is very strong, he is unlucky. I'm afraid that his gains may not even be as good as that big guy from the Lightning Sword sect called Donghuang. I think so too. Even the Lightning Sword sect, from the sect leader Yu Yuqing to the ordinary Dharma disciples, did not have high hopes for Zhou Donghuang. At this time, everyone's attention was still focused on Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang received his space ring and began to take out his gains from the Guiyao planet. Batch after batch of demon beasts' heads were taken out from the inside. The first brains that he took out were those of late Dharma beast. As for the person in charge of recording, after counting the brains of the late Dharma beasts, he was dumbfounded. The brains of late Dharma beast. 1 brain is worth 10 points, and he has actually accumulated more than 3,400 points? 4 late Dharma disciples to hunt late Dharma beasts on the Guiyao planet. It was basically the same as ultimate Dharma disciples hunting ultimate Dharma beasts. In fact, because the late Dharma disciples mainly targeted ultimate Dharma beasts, it was already good enough for them to accumulate more than 1,000 points from the beasts they killed. After all, they were not like ultimate Dharma disciples who only focused on ultimate Dharma beasts. What he did not know was that Zhou Donghuang only killed late Dharma beasts that he killed casually. He had never killed late Dharma beasts that were within his line of sight. Otherwise, the brains of late Dharma beasts would definitely be worth more than 3,000 points. Chapter 287. Zhou Donghuang, a late Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect, had killed more than 3,000 late Dharma beasts in the Alliance hunt. What did this mean? Even in the long history of the Alliance, there had never been a late Dharma adept who had killed more than 300 beasts of the same level in the Alliance hunt. In the history of the Alliance, even ultimate Dharma adepts who participated in the Alliance hunt rarely killed more than 300 ultimate Dharma beasts. After all, there were only 3 months. Someone said. Late Dharma adepts would definitely prioritize killing ultimate Dharma beasts. Could it be that Zhou Donghuang's luck is so bad that he did not meet many ultimate Dharma beasts and could only kill late Dharma beasts? If that's the case, it makes sense. Looks like Zhou Donghuang's luck is really not that good. He met many late Dharma beasts but only a few ultimate Dharma beasts. Now, most of the people present felt that this was the reason why Zhou Donghuang had killed so many late Dharma beasts. Zhou Donghuang's luck was bad. He did not meet many ultimate Dharma beasts and all he met were late Dharma beasts. What a pity. Even the group of Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect felt that it was a pity. With Zhou Donghuang's ability, unless he was unlucky, this would not have happened. Junior brother Donghuang's luck is really bad, isn't it? All he met were late Dharma beasts. While the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect felt that it was a pity, there were also many people present who were gloating. So what if he's strong? If he's unlucky, he won't be able to accumulate many points. Among these people there was the disciple of the Yuanming order, Zhong Qingkai, but most of them were people who did not interact with Zhou Donghuang. They all had one thing in common, and that was that they were jealous of those who were more outstanding than themselves. No matter who it was, they were jealous. The more outstanding one was, the more jealous they were. And because these people were usually so busy with jealousy, their training was affected. Under this vicious cycle, it was difficult for anyone to achieve great things. Jealousy was the devil. This saying was actually not wrong at all. Hu Jingshan. Do you really think that someone would be so unlucky as to meet more than 300 late Dharma beasts but only a few ultimate Dharma beasts? It was rare for Bailey Feiyang to take the initiative to ask Hu Jingshan. In fact, he already had an answer in his heart. He just wanted to ask Hu Jingshan to see what he thought. I don't think it's possible either. Hu Jingshan shook his head, looking at Zhou Donghuang's back with a gleam in his eyes. I just feel that this Zhou Donghuang might surprise everyone. I have a very strong intuition. Hu Jingshan said. The other side. Faced with the misunderstanding of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang did not explain himself. Instead, he continued to take out the brains of the beast from his space ring. From now on, the beasts he took out were all brains of ultimate Dharma beast. From the start, everyone in the Lightning Sword sect, including everyone else, had thought that Zhou Donghuang would not be able to produce many brains from ultimate Dharma beasts. However, as time passed, they were all dumbfounded. Not long after, Zhou Donghuang took out the brains of hundreds of ultimate Dharma beasts. The brains of hundreds of ultimate Dharma beasts. What kind of concept was that? According to the rules of the Alliance hunt, when a late Dharma disciple killed an ultimate Dharma beast and brought out its brain, he would be able to accumulate 100 points. 100 heads of beasts of the ultimate Dharma stage would give the late Dharma Alliance disciples 10,000 points in total. Indeed. Seeing this, Hu Jingshan smiled. My intuition was right. This is really scary. Hundreds of brains of ultimate Dharma beasts and more than 300 brains of late Dharma beast. I'm convinced. It's not over yet. At this time, Bailey Feiyang reminded him. Indeed, it was not over yet. Now, Zhou Donghuang continued to take out the brains of beasts from his space ring, and they were all brains of ultimate Dharma beasts. Because of this, those who had long been scared out of their wits tensed up and held their breaths. They stared at Zhou Donghuang intently, wanting to see how many brains of ultimate Dharma beasts he had killed. 128, 836, 852. Now many people were helping Zhou Donghuang tally up his gains from the Guiyao planet this time. More accurately, it was the brains of ultimate Dharma beasts that he had brought out. 200. When the 200th head of the ultimate Dharma beast appeared before the eyes of the crowd, everyone could only feel their hearts twitch violently. This Zhou Donghuang, was he done yet? Based on the number of brains that he had taken out so far, if they were converted into points, they would be worth more than 23,000, right? And it seemed like he was not done yet? How is this possible? Now, even Luo Qinghan was looking at Zhou Donghuang's back in shock. At this moment, a hoarse voice rang out in her mind. 4 late Dharma adepts, even if they have an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon, to instantly kill ultimate Dharma beasts, they must at least train their Dharma power to the stage of Dharma power control and master the technique of Dharma power control. This was what the young man in white, Zhuge Haotian, had said to her, and she had always remembered it. In the process of the alliance hunt, those who had the ability to instantly kill ultimate Dharma beasts were undoubtedly the minority of ultimate Dharma beasts who had mastered the technique of dharmic possession. With the help of an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon, they could easily kill ultimate Dharma beasts on the Guiyao planet. If an ultimate Dharma adept had not mastered the technique of Dharma possession, even if he had an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon, he would not be able to instantly kill ultimate Dharma beasts. Now, Zhou Donghuang had taken out so many brains of late Dharma beasts and ultimate Dharma beasts, implicitly stating a fact. He must have trained his Dharma power to the stage of Dharma power control. If not for the fact that he could easily instantly kill ultimate Dharma beasts, he would not have been able to kill so many ultimate Dharma beasts in such a short period of time. 4 late Dharma adepts in the alliance, even those who had trained their Dharma power to the stage of Dharma possession, killing an ultimate Dharma beast would require a lot of energy, and they would also need some time to recover. Even if they encountered many ultimate Dharma beasts, there was a limit to how many they could kill. 300 now. When Zhou Donghuang took out the brains of the 300th ultimate Dharma beast, everyone was numb. Even the deputy alliance leader, the mid-divine transformation old man, had a look of shock on his face. How many years had it been since his emotions had fluctuated like this? Even he couldn't remember this. But today, a young fellow from the Lightning Sword sect had caused him to be unable to calm down for a long time. They're all here. In the end, Zhou Donghuang had taken out a total of 368 brains of ultimate Dharma beasts. This was even more than the brains of late Dharma beasts that he had taken out previously. They're all here? Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was finally done, everyone felt a wave of fatigue as if they had just fought a tough battle. They were both physically and mentally exhausted. Is this Zhou Donghuang still human? His points seem to have exceeded 40,000, right? 40,000 points? In the history of the Alliance hunt, there hasn't been anyone who has obtained 20,000 points, let alone 40,000 points, right? How did he obtain so many points? Unless he has already trained his Dharma power to the legendary stage of Dharma power control. Many people suspected that Zhou Donghuang had mastered the legendary technique of Dharma adepts, Dharma power control. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such results. Zhou Donghuang, Yu Yuqing of the Lightning Sword sect looked at Zhou Donghuang. His body was still trembling slightly. This result was something that he had not even dreamed of. He had originally thought that Zhou Donghuang was unlucky and had not accumulated many points in the alliance hunt. But when the results came out, it was completely beyond his expectations. In fact, this result was something that he had not even dared to dream of. 40,000 points. Zhou Donghuang, are you trying to defy the heavens? Can't you keep a low profile? Yu Yuqing could imagine that once news of what had happened today spread, not only would the people from the various sects of the alliance be shocked, but even the 2 transcendental forces of the Honglio galaxy would definitely be shocked. Sect leader Yu, didn't you say that your disciple Zhou Donghuang of the Lightning Sword sect was unlucky? You lied to us so badly. At this time, the sect leaders of the various sects of the alliance who had been comforting Yu Yuqing earlier all glared at Yu Yuqing. Sect leader Yu, you are really unkind. To think that we wasted so much time comforting you. It turns out that you have been pretending to be weak all along. Sect leader Yu, this matter is not over. You have to give me an explanation. Faced with the condemnation of the various sect leaders, Yu Yuqing could only smile bitterly and helplessly. Everyone, I really thought that Zhou Donghuang was unlucky and did not accumulate many points. He felt that he had been tricked by Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang, you have gained so much. Can't you at least smile when you come out? Who are you trying to show a straight face for? Even I have been fooled by you. He has definitely mastered Dharma power control. Hu Jingshan, who was beside Bailey Feiyang, said with absolute certainty. Bailey Feiyang also nodded. If he had killed all those beasts alone, it is impossible that he did not master Dharma power control. At this time, the deputy alliance leader of the alliance, an old man at the mid-divine transformation stage, appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang in a flash. He looked at Zhou Donghuang with a friendly expression. Zhou Donghuang, you have trained your Dharma power to the stage of Dharma power control? Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly. He knew that he could not deny this. Of course, he did not intend to deny it either. He had already mastered the technique of Dharma power control. It was not only him. Even He Mingxi and De Zhuang had also mastered the technique of Dharma power control after switching to the Thousand Star Sword technique and the Fiery Thunder training regimen. It was just that they were not as adept at using it as he was. Otherwise, their results in this alliance hunt would definitely be much higher. Chapter 288. Guessing was one thing. The truth was another matter. When they saw Zhou Donghuang answer the old man's question and say that he had mastered Dharma power control, not only did the old man's eyes brighten, but everyone else's breathing also stopped at this moment. In the history of the Honglio galaxy, even among the two transcendental powers, there has never been a Dharma adept who has mastered Dharma power control, right? From what I know, there are many Dharma adepts in the Honglio galaxy who don't believe in superstitions and train their Dharma power with all their might, hoping to master Dharma power control. However, even when they reach the end of their lives, they still have not mastered Dharma power control. They can only break through to the primordial soul stage or else they will die without a doubt. I know about this as well. In the history of the Qingyuan sect there were two seniors who did this. One of them was unlucky and only wanted to break through to the primordial soul stage a year before the end of his life. However, in the end he did not manage to break through and died. I originally thought that only in the galaxy with rich training resources would there be Dharma adepts who have mastered Dharma power control. I never thought that such a person would appear in the Honglio galaxy. The Lightning Sword sect disciple Zhou Donghuang has made history in the Honglio galaxy. At this moment, most of the disciples of the various sects of the Alliance were flushed, happy that they could witness this historical moment in the Honglio galaxy. Of course, there were also many talented disciples who sighed silently. They felt that it was an indescribable tragedy that they had appeared in the same era as Zhou Donghuang. They were destined to be surpassed by Zhou Donghuang. This Zhou Donghuang, he has actually mastered Dharma power control. In the distance, the Yuanyin order disciple, Zhong Qingsai's eyes narrowed. He had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang had mastered Dharma power control. However, when he thought about it, he remembered that Zhou Donghuang had easily killed the two ultimate Dharma beasts that day. Perhaps it was not a coincidence? It must be known that all along he had thought that the two beasts had acted up and allowed Zhou Donghuang to take advantage of the situation. But now, it seemed that Zhou Donghuang had used his own abilities to kill the two ultimate Dharma beasts fair and square. He has mastered the technique of law power control, yet he is actually this terrifying? Zhong Qingkai stared at Zhou Donghuang, his heart trembling. He already regretted offending Zhou Donghuang. What should I do? I've already offended him twice. Even if he ignored me the first time, I'm sure he'll take it to heart the way I looked at him just now. When he grows up in the future, he might want to kill me with a single thought. No, we can't just sit here and wait for death. When I get back, I will definitely ask my father to find a way to kill him and strangle him in the cradle. When he grows up, not even my father or the entire Yuanyin sect will be able to stop him. In that instant, Zhong Qingkai made his decision. Fortunately, Zhou Donghuang did not know what Zhong Qingkai was thinking. Otherwise, he would definitely think that Zhong Qingkai was suffering from the classic persecutory delusion on Earth. He has actually mastered the technique of Dharma power control? Luo Qinghan stood among the group of people from the Jihan sect. At that moment, she could feel the envious gazes of many of the Jihan sect disciples. As for what they were envious about, it was not difficult for her to guess. They were definitely envious that she had a man like Zhou Donghuang. Regarding this, she felt both helpless and bitter. When will I be able to catch up to your footsteps? If Luo Qinghan had felt that she had a chance of catching up to Zhou Donghuang when she obtained the deity-level technique, the Thousand-Star Sword technique, then now she could not help but wonder if she really had a chance of catching up to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang's excellence was already comparable to that of Zhuge Haotian. As for that Zhuge Haotian, although she did not know who he was based on the message he left behind, it was not difficult to guess that the family behind him was definitely a powerful one. It was most likely one of the top families in the universe. Otherwise, why would he so casually give her a deity-level technique to practice? He was sent to the backward planet of Ziyun by his biological father. Father once guessed that his biological father must have a powerful background. Now, it seems that his real background may not be any weaker than Zhuge Haotian's. Otherwise, how could he have mastered Dharma power control at this age and at this level of practice? Now, in Luo Qinghan's eyes, Zhou Donghuang was already comparable to Zhuge Haotian. As for Zhuge Haotian, she felt that even if she switched to the deity-level technique, the Thousand-Star Sword technique, she would still not be able to catch up to him. Perhaps, after all, we are not fated to be together, Luo Qinghan sighed silently in her heart. Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the deputy alliance leader, an old man at the mid-divine transformation stage, looked at Zhou Donghuang with a friendly expression. Besides being the deputy alliance leader of the Hongliu Galaxy, I am also the grand elder of the Guiyuan sect, He Qingshan. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man gritted his teeth and went straight to the point. Zhou Donghuang, I know that you are a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect now, but as the saying goes, water flows downhill and man strives for higher heights. As for the Lightning Sword sect, it was only established after the Qi dynasty. In terms of history, the Lightning Sword sect could not compare to the Guiyuan sect. Seeing that Yu Yuqing was speechless, He Qingshan looked at Zhou Donghuang again, wanting to continue speaking. However, before he could speak, the Yunhua sect leader spoke first. Zhou Donghuang, in terms of history, the Yunhua sect is not inferior to the Guiyuan sect. As long as you are willing to join the Yunhua sect, whatever the Guiyuan sect can give you, the Yunhua sect can also give you, and even more. As soon as the Yunhua sect leader spoke, many other sect leaders followed suit. One by one they picked up their shovels and began to poach the Lightning Sword sect, trying to recruit Zhou Donghuang. The sect leaders of these sects, without exception, were all sects that were as old as the Guiyuan sect. When the Yunhua sect leader spoke, He Qingshan's expression had already changed. Now that so many people had spoken up, his expression naturally became even uglier. However, he had no way of rebuking them because the sects behind these people were indeed not inferior to the Guiyuan sect. In fact, some of them were even stronger than the Guiyuan sect. Zhou Donghuang. At this time, even the Jihan sect leader, Meng Yuping, stood up and looked at Zhou Donghuang with a warm smile. Our Jihan sect also has a long history and a strong foundation. If you join our Jihan sect, whatever the other sects can give you, we can also give you. Furthermore, you can be with Luo Qinghan every day and be a perfect couple. When Meng Yuping stood up, the Yunhua sect leader had a bitter smile on his face. Hearing Meng Yuping's words, he could not help but give her a thumbs up. Sect leader Meng, you are ruthless. It seems like no one can compete with you today. He Qingshan and the others who had tried to recruit Zhou Donghuang looked on in confusion. When the Yunhua sect leader explained the relationship between Zhou Donghuang and Luo Qinghan, their expressions changed completely. They had never imagined that the Jihan sect would have such a trump card. Hearing Meng Yuping's words, Zhou Donghuang subconsciously looked at Luo Qinghan, but she looked at him and shook her head lightly. Luo Qinghan. Seeing Luo Qinghan's actions, Meng Yuping's expression darkened. Chapter 289. Sect Leader Meng. Zhou Donghuang looked at Meng Yuping, who was glaring at Luo Qinghan, and said with a slight smile, "The reason I chose to join the Lightning Sword sect and not the Jihan sect with Luo Qinghan was because the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect was kind to me. Just like my original choice. Today I will continue to stay in the Lightning Sword sect." Although Zhou Donghuang's words were calm, his tone was firm and it left no room for doubt. Hearing his words, Meng Yuping's expression softened slightly. She had been wondering, since Zhou Donghuang had such a relationship with Luo Qinghan, why did he not join the Jihan sect with her? Although the Jihan sect had more female disciples, they also accepted male disciples. Now, hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Meng Yuping finally understood. Haha. The Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing, who had been waiting for Zhou Donghuang to express his stance, could not help but burst out laughing. He looked at Zhou Donghuang excitedly and said, "Zhou Donghuang, don't worry. Today you chose to stay in the Lightning Sword sect and the Lightning Sword sect will not mistreat you." He was very clear in his heart. Today, even if Zhou Donghuang wanted to join another sect, the Lightning Sword sect would not be able to do anything, and they could not do anything. Now, seeing that Zhou Donghuang had chosen to stay in the Lightning Sword sect, he could not suppress the excitement in his heart. "Thank you, sect leader." Although Zhou Donghuang had never thought of leaving the Lightning Sword sect and joining another force in the Hongliu Galaxy, deep in his heart, he could not help but thank those who had tried to poach him. They had made him a valuable commodity, and they had even made the Lightning Sword sect leader make such a promise. He could almost foresee, in the future if he had any needs, the Lightning Sword sect leader would definitely do his best to help him obtain them. And this was in fact Zhou Donghuang's goal. Otherwise, he could have casually taken out the brains of the beast that could have accumulated more than 10,000 points, and he would have secured his first place in the alliance hunt. He had taken out the brains of the beast that could have accumulated tens of thousands of points to show everyone that he, Zhou Donghuang, was outstanding, and no one in the Hongliu Galaxy could compare to him. By showing his value, he would be able to obtain greater returns. not only in the cultivation world but also in the lives of ordinary people on Earth. A person with strong working ability would often be poached by headhunting companies and offered a high salary just to win him over. Now he was in a similar situation. At the same time, the people from the various sects who had tried to recruit Zhou Donghuang saw that Zhou Donghuang had made his stance clear and could only temporarily give up on the idea of recruiting him. One by one, they turned to look at Yu Yuqing and congratulated him for being the Lightning Sword sect leader. They also congratulated the Lightning Sword sect for having a disciple like Zhou Donghuang. In their hearts, they had already begun to think of ways to secretly recruit Zhou Donghuang. In their opinion, in this world as long as there was humanity, there would be desires. This was because Zhou Donghuang had obtained 40,000 points in this alliance hunt. Although there were many outstanding disciples among the Dharma adepts of the various large sects, they all paled in comparison. Not only did they pale in comparison to Zhou Donghuang's points, but they also paled in comparison to Luo Qinghan's points. This year's alliance hunt has become a one-man show for the Lightning Sword sect. Many people from the various sects laughed bitterly as they whispered to each other. However, even so, there was nothing they could do. Who asked the Lightning Sword sect to recruit such an outstanding disciple like Zhou Donghuang? In this process, some of the talented disciples from the various sects who had originally wanted to compete with Zhou Donghuang, such as the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yujing, who wanted to find Zhou Donghuang to avenge his humiliation, and a few alliance disciples who were previously unconvinced that Zhou Donghuang was stronger than them, completely gave up on the idea of competing with Zhou Donghuang. This difference was too great. It was so great that they could only look at him in the dust and despair. After all, in the long history of the Hongliu galaxy, there had never been someone like Zhou Donghuang. They did not think that they could surpass the countless young talents in the history of the Hongliu galaxy. When the points of the 52 sects were tallied, this year's alliance hunt had officially ended. I only have a portion of the rewards for this year's alliance hunt. The rest are in the hands of the other two deputy alliance leaders. The deputy alliance leader of the alliance, the sect elder of the Gui Yuan sect, He Qingshan, announced to the Dharma disciples of the various sects after the rankings were tabulated. In the process, his eyes shone brightly and his gaze fell on Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang was undoubtedly the first in this year's alliance hunt. As for the second place, she was also a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. She was He Mingshi, who had more than 10,000 points. After the alliance hunt ended, the people of the various sects of the alliance waited for 2 whole days. The 2 deputy alliance leaders who had accompanied the Tiansong sect leader Huang Chuanqiu and the others to the Guiyao planet, and the other 2 mid-divine transformation elders also came out. Huang Chuanqiu and the others also came out with them. You didn't find him? When they saw how many people had gone and how many had returned, the people of the various sects already had their guesses. We searched almost the entire Guiyao planet, but we couldn't find him. One of the 2 deputy alliance leaders shook his head as he saw He Qingshan looking at him. Is the ranking done? The other deputy alliance leader asked He Qingshan. It's done. He Qingshan nodded and passed the paper with the records to the 2 of them. After the 2 of them took the paper, they looked at it from top to bottom. They wanted to see who the first person in this year's alliance hunt would be, and how many points he had earned. Would he be able to break the record of 10,000 points that no one had been able to accumulate in the past few hundred years? Zhou Donghuang. The 2 of them saw Zhou Donghuang's name at the top of the list at the same time, behind the words, first place. They had heard of Zhou Donghuang before, and they knew that he was the genius of the Lightning Sword sect in the past 2 years. However, they had not expected that Zhou Donghuang would actually be the first person in this year's alliance hunt. At this moment, there was only one thought in their minds. Zhou Donghuang's luck was not bad. However, when they looked at the points recorded behind Zhou Donghuang's name, they were dumbfounded. My God! Had they seen wrongly? 40,000 points? More than 40,000 points? Instantly, the 2 of them raised their heads to look at He Qingshan and asked in unison, Zhou Donghuang's points must be wrong, right? There's no mistake, it's more than 40,000 points. He Qingshan was not surprised by their reactions. Zhou Donghuang brought out more than 300 heads of late Dharma beasts, and another 400 heads of ultimate Dharma beasts. I've confirmed that they were all beasts from the Guiyao planet that were killed within the past 3 months. There's no mistake. As if he knew what the 2 of them were going to ask next, He Qingshan answered their questions in one breath. More than 300 late Dharma beasts? Nearly 400 ultimate Dharma beasts? At this moment, not to mention the 2 elderly deputy alliance leaders, even the Tiansong sect leader Huang Chuanqiu, who had just returned, and led the few higher-ups of the Tiansong sect who had just returned, were so shocked that their pupils contracted sharply. At the same time, they subconsciously looked at the group of Tiansong sect disciples behind them. Sect leader, Zhou Donghuang has indeed brought out so many heads of beasts and accumulated more than 40,000 points. A Tiansong sect disciple who was standing closer to the front said with a bitter smile, besides that, he has also mastered the technique of Dharma power control, which no one in the history of the Honglio galaxy has ever been able to master. As soon as this Tiansong sect disciple said this, Huang Chuanxiu, who had already guessed what had happened, narrowed his eyes. This Zhou Donghuang has also trained his Dharma power to the level of Dharma power control. His disciple Mo Tian had died at the hands of someone who had mastered Dharma power control. As for that person, other than the grimace mask he wore and the Dharma power he conjured was different from Zhou Donghuang's, the rest of his features were very similar to Zhou Donghuang's. Huang Chuanxiu had heard all of this from the two Tiansong sect disciples who had been present at the time. You too. In a flash, Huang Chuanxiu appeared in front of the two of them. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at them and asked in a low voice, "Are you sure that person's Dharma power was a flying beast when it appeared and not a tiger Dharma power? You have to know. Those who have mastered Dharma power control can control their Dharma power to change into various shapes after their Dharma power appears for a moment. Are you sure that flying beast Dharma power was not transformed from a tiger Dharma power?" Although Dharma adepts who had mastered Dharma power control could change their Dharma power's shape and appearance at will, when their Dharma power first appeared, it would definitely be their own Dharma power. It was impossible for it to be another Dharma power the moment it appeared. Because of this, Huang Chuanxiu asked the two Tiansong sect disciples this question. Sect leader, I saw it clearly. When his Dharma power appeared, it was a flying beast Dharma power. There's no mistake. That flying beast Dharma power was very natural, as if it had merged with his entire body. It must be his Dharma power's original form. One of the Tiansong sect disciples was the first to express his opinion. Sect leader, I can also confirm that that person's Dharma power's original form was a flying beast Dharma power and not a tiger Dharma power. That person is definitely not Zhou Donghuang. The other Tiansong sect disciple also said with certainty, his build and clothes are indeed very similar to Zhou Donghuang's, but I can confirm that the white robes on his body and the white robes on Zhou Donghuang's body are all different in every detail. Back then, I noticed that he looked very similar to Zhou Donghuang, so I specially observed him. The words of the two Tiansong sect disciples made Huang Chuanxiu's brows furrow involuntarily. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? Two people of similar build, who both liked to wear white, and who were both late Dharma adepts who had mastered Dharma power control, were actually not the same person? One Dharma power was a tiger Dharma power, while the other was a flying beast Dharma power. Chapter 290. Unless Zhou Donghuang has the ability to change his Dharma power's appearance before it appears, otherwise he can't be that person. As Huang Chuanxiu thought of this, he looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his gaze sharpening. He still did not believe that there could be such a coincidence. Zhou Donghuang, don't let me find any evidence. Otherwise I and even the Tiansong sect will not tolerate you. Huang Chuanxiu thought to himself. Now, even he did not dare to confirm that Zhou Donghuang was the person who had killed his most beloved disciple, Mo Tian. Even if he could confirm it, as long as there was no evidence, he would not be able to openly attack Zhou Donghuang. And once he could prove that Zhou Donghuang had killed Mo Tian, he and even the Tiansong sect would be able to openly attack. In fact, the various sects of the alliance would even support him. Zhou Donghuang was too outstanding, to the point that he could be said to be nature-defying. However, as the saying went, the tallest tree in the forest is the first to be destroyed by the wind. The various sects of the alliance would definitely destroy this demon of the lightning sword sect if they had the chance. No sect would want this demon of the lightning sword sect to grow up. Once such a demon grew up, unless he left the Honglio galaxy early, his existence would definitely break the balance of the various sects of the alliance. If he had the ambition, he could even unite them and build a third transcendental force in the Honglio galaxy. And when that time came, whoever was unwilling to accept the unification would most likely be destroyed. No one knew what Huang Chuanxiu was thinking. Even the two Tiansong sect disciples who had personally witnessed the masked Zhou Donghuang kill Mo Tian did not think that the person was the same person as Zhou Donghuang. Huang Chuanxiu did not dare to think that Zhou Donghuang had two Dharma powers. He only dared to think that Zhou Donghuang might have mastered a method to change the form of his Dharma power before it appeared. As for the two Tiansong sect disciples, Not only did they not dare to think that Zhou Donghuang had two different Dharma powers, they did not even dare to think that Zhou Donghuang had the ability to change the form of his Dharma power before it appeared. This was because, since ancient times, it was impossible for any Dharma adept, including those who had tempered their Dharma power to the stage of Dharma power control, to change the form of their Dharma power before it appeared. This was practically an iron law. However, Huang Chuanxiu was thinking that this was, after all, a saying that had been passed down since ancient times in the Hongliu galaxy. There had never been a Dharma adept in the Hongliu galaxy who had mastered Dharma power control. Who would dare to say that this saying was definitely true? What if that statement was wrong? No matter what, even if Huang Chuanxiu had this thought, he could not say it out loud because once he did, no one would stand on his side. Unless he had enough evidence to prove his innocence. /B. The alliance hunt, which took 3 months, ended just like that. Half a month later, Zhou Donghuang also obtained the Sky Sun fruit as he wished. The Sky Sun fruit could be said to be the best reward in the history of the alliance hunt. Normally, no one would be able to obtain the Sky Sun fruit. That day, when they had confirmed that Zhou Donghuang would be able to keep the Sky Sun fruit, almost all of the Dharma adepts of the various sects of the alliance were envious. Many sect leaders of the various sects of the alliance had even expressed their willingness to pay a hefty price in exchange for the Sky Sun fruit from Zhou Donghuang. However, Zhou Donghuang rejected her outright. What a joke. The Sky Sun fruit was something that he urgently needed. With the Sky Sun fruit, he would be able to allow the 4 Dharma powers in his body to break through to the ultimate Dharma stage in a short period of time, and then break through to the primordial soul stage. If my 4 Dharma powers transform into primordial souls, once the 4 primordial souls appear, even if I am only at the early primordial soul stage, I am confident that I can defeat and even kill an ordinary late primordial soul adept. As he received the Sky Sun fruit from the hands of the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, Zhou Donghuang's expression was calm, but his heart was in turmoil. Zhou Donghuang, congratulations. Yu Yuqing smiled and congratulated Zhou Donghuang. Thank you, sect leader. Zhou Donghuang nodded at Yu Yuqing and prepared to return to his own residence in the Autumn Valley to produce the Sky Sun elixir and maximize the use of the Sky Sun fruit. If the Sky Sun elixir was produced, his level of practice would greatly increase in a short period of time, and he would also be able to share one Sky Sun elixir with third senior sister and Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang, wait a moment. Just as Zhou Donghuang was about to take his leave and return to the Autumn Valley, Yu Yuqing called out to him. Sect leader, what's the matter? Zhou Donghuang asked. A few days ago, a few guests came to the Lightning Sword sect. Yu Yuqing smiled bitterly at Zhou Donghuang and said, if they were just ordinary people it would be fine, but they are from the Qi dynasty and the Guangling Academy. The Qi dynasty? The Guangling Academy? Zhou Donghuang raised an eyebrow. They are here for the Sky Sun fruit? I'm afraid that's not the case. I think they're here for you, Lin Huang said. Yu Yuqing shook his head and said, of course, if you are not willing to go to the Qi dynasty or the Guangling Academy, they will definitely settle for the next best thing and target your Sky Sun fruit. Can't I not meet them? Zhou Donghuang frowned slightly. He did not want to meet people who were not related to him. If you don't meet them, I'm afraid they will go to the Autumn Valley themselves to look for you. Yu Yuqing smiled bitterly. In front of these 2 transcendental forces, even he, the Lightning Sword sect leader, had to be careful and did not dare to be careless. He had no choice as he was not confident enough. If the other party only wanted to attack him or anyone else in the Lightning Sword sect, they could just find a random reason, and even the alliance would not want to have any conflict with them. Although the 52 sects in the alliance had a lot of adepts, they could not gather all the adepts and negotiate with the 2 transcendental forces over such a small conflict or even fight. To put it bluntly, Yu Yuqing was a direct descendant of the 2 transcendent forces with the highest status. Even if he was just a young man, he would not dare to easily retaliate if he were to slap him. If that's the case, let's meet them. Zhou Donghuang did not want to attract the people of the 2 transcendental forces to the Autumn Valley and break the peace there. Under Yu Yuqing's guidance, Zhou Donghuang first went to the place where the Lightning Sword sect received the people from the Guangling Academy. The person from the Guangling Academy was a middle-aged man dressed like a scholar. He was tall and well-built, and his face was as smooth as jade. He seemed to always have a smile on his face and it was as if he was a spring breeze. Elder Dongfang. Yu Yuqing smiled and greeted him, then began to introduce him. Elder Shangwan, this is Zhou Donghuang of the Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang, this is Elder Dongfang Yu of the Guangling Academy. Following Yu Yuqing's words, Zhou Donghuang merely glanced at him and asked impatiently, "What's the matter?" If he had a choice, he would not want to meet the people from the Guangling Academy or the Qi dynasty, because it would be a waste of his time even if he met her. However, Zhou Donghuang's impatience frightened Yu Yuqing, and he hurriedly apologized to Dongfang Yu. "Elder Dongfang, Zhou Donghuang has urgent matters to attend to at the Autumn Valley, so it was inevitable that he lost his composure. Please forgive me." Although the person in front of him was only one of the elders of the Guangling Academy, he had another identity. He was the grandson of the Guangling Academy's dean. Such a person was not someone the Lightning Sword sect could afford to offend. "It's all right." Dongfang Yu shook his head and smiled. "I was being presumptuous." Zhou Donghuang. Dongfang Yu looked at Zhou Donghuang, his face full of smiles. "I am here this time to invite you into the Guangling Academy." Before Dongfang Yu could finish, Zhou Donghuang interrupted him. "I'm not interested." The smile on Dongfang Yu's face froze slightly, but he continued with a smile. "Of course, if you are not willing, I and the Guangling Academy will not force you. There's also one more thing." Hearing Dongfang Yu say this, Zhou Donghuang knew that he was definitely interested in his Sky Sun fruit, and Dongfang Yu's next words were precisely because of the Sky Sun fruit. "The Guangling Academy is willing to exchange a Tongshan fruit for the Sky Sun fruit you have. I wonder if you are willing to exchange?" Dongfang Yu asked with a smile. "Tongshan fruit?" Hearing Dongfang Yu's words, although Zhou Donghuang looked calm on the surface, his heart was in turmoil. Obviously, he had not expected the Guangling Academy to exchange a Tongshan fruit for his Sky Sun fruit. The value of the Tongshan fruit was no less than the Sky Sun fruit. In fact, in the eyes of some, the Tongshan fruit was even more attractive than the Sky Sun fruit. The Tongshan fruit could help ultimate Dharma adepts break through to the primordial soul stage. To ultimate Dharma adepts who were reaching the end of their lifespans and had no hope of breaking through to the primordial soul stage, it was a priceless treasure. Because to them, it was a miracle medicine that could prolong their lives. In some of the more resource-rich galaxies, the Tongshan fruit could easily fetch a higher price than the Sky Sun fruit in an auction. Even in the more resource-rich galaxies, there was no shortage of people who were too untalented and had no hope of breaking through to the primordial soul stage. These people's friends and relatives were often willing to buy a Tongshan fruit for them. In terms of value, the Tongshan fruit was no less valuable than the Sky Sun fruit. Unfortunately, to Zhou Donghuang, the Tongshan fruit had no value, at least not to him. Now, even if the Guangling Academy offered 10 or 100 Tongshan fruits, he would not be able to exchange the Sky Sun fruit, much less one Tongshan fruit. What did he lack the most now? Time. The Sky Sun fruit could save him time and allow him to break through to the primordial soul stage earlier. Not exchanging. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Dongfang Yu's expression showed that he was not surprised by Zhou Donghuang's reply. However, he did not give up just like that. "What if I add another promise? The Guangling Academy's early divine transformation adept can help you once, no matter who the other party is or what the reason is." Hearing this additional condition, Zhou Donghuang shook his head again. Not exchanging. Mid-divine transformation. Dongfang Yu continued. "As long as it does not harm the Guangling Academy's interests, the Guangling Academy's mid-divine transformation adept can help you once." Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was still refusing, Dongfang Yu thought that Zhou Donghuang wanted to continue bargaining, so he immediately spoke up to stop Zhou Donghuang from having that thought. "Of course, if you haven't met the people from the Qi dynasty yet, you can go and meet them first. However, what they can offer is definitely not comparable to what the Guangling Academy can offer. Our Guangling Academy is very sincere. You can make a trip to the people of the Qi dynasty. If you feel that what the Guangling Academy is offering is better, you can follow sect leader Yu to find me. I'll wait for you." From Dongfang Yu's words, it was obvious that he was very confident in the things that the Guangling Academy had brought out. He did not seem to be afraid of comparing goods. He felt that Zhou Donghuang must have wanted to compare what the Guangling Academy had with what the Qi dynasty had offered, and that was why he had not agreed immediately. However, he did not expect that even if the Guangling Academy offered a mid-divine transformation adept to fight for Zhou Donghuang once, Zhou Donghuang would not be interested, much less if the Guangling Academy offered a late divine transformation adept to fight for Zhou Donghuang once. To him, the Sky Sun fruit could allow him to attain the primordial soul stage in the shortest time possible. Once he attained the primordial soul stage, he would be able to unlock even more of the treasures from his past life. He would then be able to snatch away the treasures that were supposed to be obtained by others in the future. Now what he lacked the most was time. With the Sky Sun fruit, not only would he be able to shorten the gap between him and the primordial soul stage, but he would also be able to shorten the gap between him and the divine transformation stage, the separating divinity stage, and even the heavenly being stage. He wanted to attain the same level of power as he had in his past life in the shortest time possible, or even stronger. His biological father and mother were still waiting for him to save them. He could not afford to waste a single moment. Sect leader, let's go and meet the people from the Qi dynasty. Now what Zhou Donghuang wanted to do the most was to return to the Autumn Valley and use the Sky Sun fruit to refine the Sky Sun elixir. The other ingredients needed to refine the Sky Sun elixir had already been gathered not long after the alliance hunt had ended. The most important ingredient to refine the Sky Sun elixir was the main ingredient, the Sky Sun fruit. Although the other ingredients were valuable, they were not difficult to gather. In fact, he did not even need to look for sect leader Yu Yuqing. Zhou Donghuang only had to inform the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and in a few days, He Jin had already gathered all the ingredients and handed them over to him. If not for the fact that he did not want the people from the Qi dynasty and the Guangling Academy to disturb the Autumn Valley, Zhou Donghuang would not have even bothered to meet them. Under the guidance of the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, Zhou Donghuang quickly met the people from the Qi dynasty. There were two people from the Qi dynasty. One was a middle-aged man dressed in a sky-blue robe, while the other was a young man dressed in a brocade robe. 14th Prince, this is Zhou Donghuang from the Lightning Sword sect. After seeing the people from the Qi dynasty, Yu Yuqing once again introduced them. Zhou Donghuang, this is the 14th Prince of the Qi dynasty, Qi Rui. And this is Minister Chu Wei from the Qi dynasty. Zhou Donghuang glanced lightly at the two of them and nodded slightly. How dare you? Seeing Zhou Donghuang's indifference, Minister Chu Wei, who was standing behind the 14th Prince of the Qi dynasty, Qi Rui, glared angrily at Zhou Donghuang and shouted, "How dare you not greet the 14th Prince? Why should I greet him?" Zhou Donghuang glanced lightly at Chu Wei. "I'm not from the Qi dynasty. Don't try to use your Qi dynasty's methods on me to show off." "You?" Chu Wei was enraged. "Do you really think that just because you have some martial arts talent, you can do whatever you want? Do you not know how powerful the Qi dynasty is?" "Minister Chu, this is the Lightning Sword sect." Yu Yuqing glanced lightly at Chu Wei and reminded him in a cold tone. Dong Fangyu from the Guangling Academy was a direct descendant of the Guangling Academy and the grandson of the dean of the Guangling Academy, whereas this Chu Wei was just an ordinary minister of the Qi dynasty. As the leader of the Lightning Sword sect, there was no need for him to fear him. On the other hand, the 14th Prince, Qi Rui, was slightly afraid of him, but not to the extent that he was afraid of Dong Fangyu. Although the 14th Prince, Qi Rui, was a direct descendant of the Qi dynasty, among the many descendants of the current king of Qi, his martial arts talent was the lowest. Usually he was a semi-transparent character in the Qi dynasty. Of course, although he was not that afraid of such a person, he would not dare to provoke him. "Uncle Chu, since sect leader Yu is here, we naturally have to give him face," Qi Rui said. His tone was condescending as he glanced lightly at Zhou Donghuang. "Zhou Donghuang, your talent is not bad. Now, on behalf of the Qi dynasty, I would like to invite you to join us." "Not interested," Zhou Donghuang replied calmly. Zhou Donghuang replied calmly, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang turned to leave. Just as Qi Rui was about to speak again, Zhou Donghuang, who was walking out, continued, "Not only am I not interested in going to the Qi dynasty, I am also not interested in exchanging the Sky Sun fruit with the Qi dynasty. No matter what the Qi dynasty has to offer." This sentence completely silenced Qi Rui, and Qi Rui could only watch as Zhou Donghuang swaggered off into the distance and disappeared from his sight. "Sect leader Yu, this Zhou Donghuang of the Lightning Sword sect is too rude." Chu Wei looked at Yu Yuqing with slight fear and said in a low voice, "By doing this, he is not only looking down on the 14th Prince, but he is also looking down on the Qi dynasty." "Minister Chu, there are some things that you cannot put on Zhou Donghuang just because you want to," Yu Yuqing said calmly. Although he felt helpless at Zhou Donghuang's unbridled behavior, Yu Yuqing did not fear Chu Wei. His tone was calm and it was obvious that he was protecting Zhou Donghuang. "Sect leader Yu." At this time, Qi Rui's eyes flashed coldly and he said in a low voice, "When you return, help me pass a message to this so-called genius of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Honglio galaxy, if a genius dies prematurely and is unable to grow, then he is useless. As soon as Qi Rui said this, Yu Yuqing's expression changed, and his eyes flashed coldly. 14th Prince, are you threatening a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect? Uncle Chu, let's go. Qi Rui did not bother with Yu Yuqing anymore, and he left with Chu Wei after a cold snort. Looking at the backs of Qi Rui and Chu Wei leaving, Yu Yuqing's eyes flashed coldly, and he was filled with murderous intent. However, in the end he did not make a move. Killing the two of them was not difficult for him, but the consequences of killing them were not something that he, or even the Lightning Sword sect, could bear. The 14th prince of the Qi dynasty, Qi Rui, did not have a high status in the Qi dynasty, but no matter what, he was still the blood of King Qi. If he were to die in the Lightning Sword sect, the Qi dynasty would definitely not let the matter rest. Looks like I'll have to remind Zhou Donghuang to not go out unless there's something urgent. Even if he wants to go out, he has to let me know first. Yu Yuqing did not dare to ignore Qi Rui's threat. Qi Rui did not have a high status in the Qi dynasty, but he could command countless primordial soul adepts of the Qi dynasty with a single command. Even Chu Wei, the Qi dynasty's official beside him, was an ultimate primordial soul adept. Usually, Qi Rui might not have been able to command Chu Wei, but today Zhou Donghuang had angered Chu Wei, and since the two of them were on good terms, Chu Wei might attack Zhou Donghuang. No. I have to go and warn Zhou Donghuang immediately. The more Yu Yuqing thought about it, the more worried he became. In an instant, he moved and headed in the direction of the Autumn Valley. Just as Zhou Donghuang reached the outskirts of the Autumn Valley, Yu Yuqing caught up with him. Sect leader? You're here. Could it be that you're here to help the Qi dynasty relay the conditions that they have in exchange for my Sky Sun Fruit? If that's the case, you don't have to say anything because I will never give the Sky Sun Fruit away. Zhou Donghuang's tone was resolute. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.